right, so we're just about to get to Battle 2 of our Sisters of Battle, Battle Sisters, Adepta Sororitas Crusade narrative. We saw last time that they did take a loss to the hands of the Emperor's Children and Slaanesh. This next battle is going to be on even ground. So as you saw from the intro video, we have a now 1,395 point Battle Sisters army taking on pretty much the exact same 1,390 point Orc army. So instead of going through all of the Crusade battle sheets, I'm just going to do a quick, kind of rundown here of what happened. So we do have the one battle tally, which means that the requisition points, there's one added whether you win or lose. So we went from 5 requisition points up to 6. There is currently 1 remaining because I used 3 of those points to be able to bring back models from their battle scars, and then an additional 2 for the supply limit to be raised. So our supply limit is currently 1,400 and used so far is 1,395. The roster that I added from those 400 points of supply was the Penitent Engines, so that is 1 model, Mortifier, 1 model, a Repentia squad, which is 5 models, and then more Venval. So I'm really hoping that that is going to give them a little bit of extra punch here for some hand-to-hand, because these Orcs are definitely no slouch in hand-to-hand. To cover the battle scars that still remain, we do have Canoness Vaheen. She is no longer the warlord of this force, as more Venval has come in, but she is definitely a very potent and strong 2IC, so second in command. She currently has the crippling damage, which is -1 to her movement characteristic. That will be marked on the field. The Hospitaller had that battle scar removed with a requisition point, so that was the first. The Celestian Sacrosanct also had a battle scar removed with the requisition points. We have the Battle Sister Squad Beta, which has the Heavy Bolter. It has a -1 to move as well from that crippling damage. We have the Sororitas Rhino with the crippling damage as well, so it will also be -1 to movement characteristic. The Castigator was another model that I used a requisition point to remove the battle scar. -1 to the Paragon Warsuits for their move. And then I have -1 to the objective control for the Retributor squad, and that's actually going to be important in this fight because this is an objective control battle. We're going to get to a roll-off here too in just a second when we get to the dice tray, and we're going to see what forces are taking what parts of this field. So there's a picture up right now. You guys can see a breakdown of the field. There's also been some shots that we'll put up as well that show a breakdown of each of the areas and their point value. So we have 2 in the center of the field, which are 5 points apiece. 1 will be held by the Orcs. 1 will be held by the Sisters of Battle. We have 2 other positions that are diagonal across the board. So 1 is for 3 points. It's kind of like a torn down cityscape building area. The other one is some Promethium canisters that are in the diagonal section of that. And then from one side of the table to the other, we have another kind of, looks like what maybe used to be a small town in the cityscape that is 2 points. And we have a last one that is also kind of a cityscape broken apartment complex or building that is also 2 points. So the victory indicators for this battle are going to be 5 turns once again, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. To be able to decide that, I'm not going to be putting objective control numbers at the bottom of every single stand because that takes forever. But if there is some ground that is being fought over and there's very similar models in each section, I'll do that off camera, but I'll make sure that if it comes down to either the end of the turn or the end of the battle, that I have the accurate force holding that position and getting those points. And we're not going to sum up the points after every single turn. It's going to be by the end of the fight. And a lot of these positions, it's very possible if the roll-off happens in the favor of one force, they might be all on one side of the table and the other on the other side. But the big thing is the forces will have to cross each other and start fighting to be able to take more land, or it would be a draw at the end, which is no fun. All right, here it is. Finnigan 40K, Adepta Sororitas Crusade Narrative Battle 2, starting with the roll-offs here. I'm using my kind of greeny bluey dice for the Orcs, and the red dice again will be for my Sisters of Battle. Black dice are going to be used for the Miracle dice rolls, which will make up my Miracle dice pool for the Acts of Faith, and I might have to use some of those black dice because I don't have many of the blue. So what we'll do here is we're going to start with the Orks with that blue dice. They're the visitors, so let's do it that way this time. So let's see what they get. It is a 4. And let's see what the Sisters of Battle can do. It is also a 4. So the battle begins just with the dice roll-offs, and we're going to work from the highest point values to the lesser point values. So we're starting with the Adepta Sororitas statue and the landing pad. Let's roll again. So we'll go with the Orks. They got a 2. And the Sisters of Battle have got a 4. So the Sisters are taking the first round. I am going to say that they have the landing pad, so I'm going to keep my Imperial Guard / Astra Militarum wooden disc indicator on there, so that is theirs. And the Orks are going to be taking the Adepta Sororitas statue, so I'm just going to be placing a green disc there for them. Make sure that it's Orky green. So now we're going to switch it up. We had the Orks roll first last time. It's going to be the Adepta Sororitas rolling. Got a 1, and the Orks got a 3. So this next one is the 3 points. So that is the kind of busted up apartment complex building in one corner of the field, and then the Prometheum tanks on the other side. I'm going to be taking the Prometheum tanks because that is where the Adepta Sororitas statue is. So that's going to be a pretty chunky Ork force over there. If this continues to roll off that way, and it's going to be harder for those Sisters of Battle to kind of take them out of cover. So there we go. I'll put the picture up there too, again, the still image of the field, and I'll just put some kind of indicator there for you guys, brackets or something in green and brackets in red to make sure that we know where everything is. All right, so we're going to keep going here. That was the Sisters that rolled first, so this is going to be the Orks rolling first this time, and this is for the last objective. It is a 2 for the Orks and a 5 for the Sisters. So I'm just going to look here. I'm actually going to do something pretty crazy. I'm going to use the 6th Astra Militarum disc for the Sisters of Battle. So that's actually across the field from where most of their force is going to be. But in doing that, if I can get a big spearhead in there, I might be able to take some of the big stuff early. So they are going to grab it looks like an old busted up town. And again, I'll get that picture up for you guys in just a second. And I'm going to put the Ork icon disc over here. There we go. So I'm just going to count up here and make sure we have everything. So just to sum up, we have the landing pad for the Astra Militarum, or for the Adepta Sororitas, because I'm looking at an Astra Militarum disc. So they have the landing pad, which is probably the best strategic point there for shooting down. It's going to be very hard to remove them. They also have the larger, used to look like an apartment complex or maybe a very large Ministorum building. And they have the smaller, what maybe used to be a town. It's a very small area on the board, but it's going to be hopefully easy to defend. And if I can put a lot of force in there, they might be able to start to leak out and take some of the other Ork objectives. And the Ork objectives on the other side are the Adepta Sororitas statues. So that's just right beside the landing pad. They have the Prometheum tanks, which is also right beside the Adepta Sororitas statue. And then on the far side, which looks again a bit of a smaller apartment complex or smaller Ministorum building or something like that, is the other Orks. So both forces are even right now. They have 5, 8, 10 points each. And again, we won't be doing the sums until the end of the game. I might do a quick cut here and there to show you guys who holds what and how many models are in each. And if there is going to be land that has to be kind of counted out, I'll do the objective control points off camera and do that. So I'm very excited to get this going. I'm going to look at the whole field. I'll get my models placed as to where I want them and what kind of firepower and hand-to-hand models and everything else are going to be in there. We'll get to this one right away. Going to place my forces, and we'll rock and roll, and hopefully the Adepta Sororitas can get their first victory during this narrative crusade. Before we start this one up, just wanted to show how all of the forces broke down. Just laid all the wound tokens down. The Orks have been put in place, and the Sisters of Battle are in their place as well. Bit of background for this fight too. I'm going to say that this Adepta Sororitas army was moving through the city, and they were cut off by Orks that were hiding in the flanks. and Morvan Val, who is their commander, made it the furthest in the city down here. I'll break it down though as per kind of where the sisters won and who's at each spot, and then we'll go back and forth from there. So the first one here worth 5 points is the landing pad. When you're setting this up too, it was like, I love playing as Orks as well, so I'm super excited to get this one going. The Orks, probably one of the cheapest point armies in the game, and the Battle Sisters, not the most expensive, but more expensive, so they definitely do not have the numbers. The Orks have a lot more models here. The first spot here, though, this is one in the tray by the Sisters of Battle during that first roll-off, so they have taken the most probably strategic point on the table, which is the landing pad. It's worth 5 points. They hold that right now. Up here, we have Canoness Vehin, who has stayed at the back of the force to kind of make sure that everyone can move through the city and fight off and defend. Yeah, it was really tricky too, because you have to set up a defensive force here in case you need to move around to different objectives to take them, and then also an offensive force. So I have the Retributors there for that extra bit of punch. They are a little bit swifter there from the crippling damage and then fatigue as well, so they're not going to be moving as quickly, and the OC points for the Retributors are down, but I might leave them here as a defense force if I have to. There's a 10 section of Battle Sisters here at the back or at the front of the landing pad, whichever way you want to look at, and they're going to be shooting down hopefully at those Orks there. In here as well, we have the Celestine Sacrosanct with the Hospitaller. The Hospitaller is just kind of hidden there underneath the landing pad. We have the Mortifier over here on the right, and the I forget the other model's name, but it's over on the left here. Across from them, before I show you the Orks next to them, there is a Death Dread, 3 Killicans, and Burna Boys. The Killicans and Death Dread are definitely the offense here, and then the Burna Boys will be holding this objective. This is worth 2 points currently and is held by the Orks. Over here to the left of that Ork force is the Sororitas Rhino with another Battle Sister squad being led by the Imagifier. This is 3 points, and this is going to be tricky to use as a defensive position. Maybe have that Rhino used for defense here if needed, and then those Battle Sisters can move and try to put some firepower down on this force here. No, it's not a Sanctifier. I'll think of that name later as we keep playing. Over on the flip side here, from that first roll, the Orks did lose, but they did take the Adepta Sororitas statue, and there is a massive horde of Orks in here. This section here is 20 boys led by a weird boy, and they can definitely do the jump. So that's going to be pretty tricky if I can jump 20 Ork boys anywhere on this table to help take objectives. The front of this here is the warlord of their force. We have the Ork Warboss in Mega Armor, another Death Dread, Tank Bustas, and then a 10 section of Ork boys here. So that is going to be a hell of a force. Facing off against them is the Castigator, which is definitely going to be offense. Morvan Val and her Paragon Warsuit squad. She's going to be able to buff them out. And then on defense, we're going to have the Sisters Repentia here. If they get swarmed by a bunch of Orks with Choppas, it's not going to last too long, but at least they're here to hold this little section of the city for as long as they can, while Morvan Val and the Castigator move ahead to try to take some land. And then last but not least, diagonal from the Battle Sister squad and the Sororitas Rhino is another massive amount of Ork boys. They have a pain boy there as well, which is going to be able to give them a feel no pain save. There's 20 there. There is also a truck over here, and in that truck, we have 10 Shudas. So these are my ranged Ork squads, and they should be able to move around the table as needed. This is going to be another really tough fight for the Adepta Sororitas, and I'm finding out more and more that the Adepta Sororitas is a very hard army to use. It doesn't mean that they're not good. It just means that they're super, kind of like not a beginner level. So your Space Marines are definitely beginner level. Adepta Sororitas harder. I think Orks are also very hard to use. They don't have much cover here, so it's very possible that they could start to get shredded, but there's just so many of them. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to start moving here, and I don't know if I stated this already, but I'm going to be trying to keep out of the tray as much as possible here, as this is more of an objective control battle as opposed to shoots and melee and stuff. If there is any really cool dramatic rolls though, like the Canoness going in against the Death Dread or Morvan Val versus the Ork Warboss and Mega Armor, definitely get that in there, or if there's some crazy shoots. But I'm going to kind of keep moving back and forth, sum up the turns in whole, I'm hoping that that's going to save some time on the video too. Not that, you know, a long video is bad, but more about the objective controls here, and then, you know, maybe do quick sum ups at the end of each turn to see who holds what, who's still there, who's defending, who's offending, stuff like that. And we're going to get this one right now. Going to start up with the Adepta Sororitas movement, as they won that roll off to get their first positioning on the table. And holy shit, this is going to be a good one, guys. So let's get into it, and I'll be right back to show you guys what's happened after the first turn for the Adepta Sororitas. That was a very quick move there for the Adepta Sororitas. So just to get this battle kind of going here, build the foundation of it, I will do a couple of moves just to show you where everybody is, but I'll wrap in the shoots. Don't need to go to the tray every time for that, and hand-to-hand. So on the landing pad here, we have the Retributors led by the Canoness move right up to the lip. We have the Celestine Sacrosanct, the Hospitaller, the Penitent Engine, I found out its name. Don't know why I forgot that, but yeah, Penitent Engine, Mortifier, have all moved up to face off against the Killicans, the Burna Boys, and the Death Dread. That is a very good little orc force there, holding down those 2 points, and they have to be, because this field, this side of the table is pretty Adepta Sororitas heavy. Over here, the Battle Sisters moved up. The Rhino is still within that objective, so it is going to hold it down, and then the Magifier is helping them out by buffing them out. I'm not sure how many of them are actually going to be in line of sight for the shoots here. As soon as you go around this wall, might be 6 of them that can try to fire in, so we'll see what happens. And then over here, the Orcs still have not moved yet. It is not their turn. Morven Val has come out with her Paragon Warsuits. This is going to be tricky. Morven Val has an 8-inch movement. The Paragon Warsuits usually have 8 as well, but because of that crippling damage from the battle scar of the first battle, they're only moving 7 now. So it might be a bit of an accordion, but they're sticking together for now, and Morven Val will be able to buff them out. I'm really hoping for some great range rolls here, because they have some very good firepower. And then the Castigator has pulled in here, off to the side. It's probably going to be putting that Castigator battle cannon onto the Death Dread, and then its heavy bolters onto the lesser models. Big thing about Orcs too, they only have 1 wound, but they have a 5 toughness. And that 5 toughness makes them very hard to kill with things like bolt guns, las guns, lesser weapons. So the heavy bolter, as well as those multi-meltas, are hopefully going to help out with that. And then the Sisters Repentia on the left side of this little kind of broken up town are going to be the defense in here as Morven Val pushes out to try to take them. The Battle Sisters here as well up on top of the landing pad. We're going to see if they have line of sight there. I don't think they'll be able to get all of those Orc boys, but they can shoot down at a few of them. And if the Orcs want to, they can attempt to jump there and literally land right in behind that Battle Sister squad and the Canoness. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to try to plink away and take as many of these Orcs as I can over to the tray. I'm going to roll that all off camera, and I will come back and sum everything up. If I remember who did what damage or kills, I'll do it. If not, I'll just show you guys what remains of the Orcs or of the Adepta Sororitas, mattering on what turn has occurred. Let's get into this one. I cannot wait. Here we go. Into the meat and potatoes, the dice rolls. And of course, before I forget, there will have to be one roll. This is our miracle dice roll to see what we're going to get here and what I can hopefully sub in if it's a high number. Let's see what it is. It's a 2. Not great. I'll keep it for now on the side. I can maybe discard it if I need to later for specific moves. Now it's time to get over to the shoots, and I will come back and show you guys what's happened on the table when that is done. The Sisters of Battle turn 1 has finished. Not a bad round. Didn't get great rolls for some of the units, but it was pretty good. I'm just hoping it's enough to hold off the Orcs now, because it is going back over to them. But to sum everything up, the Sororitas Rhino and the 3 Sisters at the top here with the Magifier, the Flamers out of range, the Heavy Flamer there fired in, we're able to, along with, I should say, the Penitent Engine, Sisters Repentia, Hospitaller, Mortifier, Retributor, and Canoness were able to kill one of the Killicans outright. So that is 5 wounds that were taken away, and then wound the other Killican on the right here and bring it down to 2 wounds. So not bad. These things have a pretty good toughness. It's actually a Gretchen that's in there. They have better ballistic skill because of that too. The Orks just like to kind of make noise with their bolters and whatever else they have. They're sluggas, I guess now they're called. They used to have bolt guns like Marines, but they don't anymore. And then the Gretchen are actually pretty good little marksmen. Same role as the Imperial Guard. So they were able to survive some of that fire. This objective is still held by the Orks, so that is 2 points for them. This one is still, of course, held by the Sisters of Battle with the 3 points. The landing pad over here on the other side, the 10 Sisters of Battle fired down into the Orks here that are attached to the Weird Boy. They really only had that front line in line of sight and range, and they were able to kill 3 out of the 5 at the front, but that is still a very large army there of Ork boys that are ready to possibly do the jump next turn, so we're going to see how that goes. Over here was probably the best bit of fighting, and it makes sense because this is the warlord of our Sisters of Battle, Morven Val. So Morven Val, the Paragon Warsuits, and the Castigator fired in here and did a lot of damage to the Orks. So Morven Val and the Paragon Warsuits fired into the tank bustas. There's actually only the one tank busta left. The Death Dread is still fine. The Ork Warboss and Mega Armor is fine. And then all of the heavy bolters that are attached to the Castigator fired into this Ork boy unit and brought them down from 10 to 4 models. And the Castigator cannon did fire into the Death Dread, and it is at 8 wounds. Let me just check the other one, make sure, because that might have actually been wounded. How much do they start with? It's 8. So yeah, nothing happened there. This is why I like summing everything up in one chunk, but sometimes you miss little pieces. So I apologize if that happens. But yeah, the Death Dread was able to survive that Castigator. But this force here is pretty beat up. They still, however, hold the 5 points. Morven Val wants that, though. The Sisters hold the 2 points here in this kind of busted up little village or whatever it used to be. And then over here, these Ork boys have not been affected at all. And they have the 3 point objective over here. So all the objectives still remain with the forces at the start. It is now moving over to the Orks. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to do the Ork movement, come back, show you where all the forces have moved to, and then from there we're going to get to their shoots or hand-to-hand. And if there's anything really cool, I will get that in the dice tray. If not, I will come back and do another summation like I have done here. So let's keep going. Very, very cool so far, and it's going to be a hell of a fight. So let's get back to it. The Ork move is done for their turn 1. The Beast Snagga boys have stayed here. It's 3 solid points. They're going to be holding that for as long as they can until someone comes in to take them. The truck broke away and went this way. That truck has 10 boys in the back. It does have a big shooter on it, and I believe these Battle Sisters, at least the left-hand side from this angle, are open to line of sight, and the big shooter can get a lot of shots in, but they're Orks, so not the best aim. Over here, this is going to be some great rolls in the dice tray. We had the Killicans go in against the Mortifier in hand-to-hand combat. The Death Dread has gone headlong into the Celestine Sacrosancts led by the Hospitaller. And the Burner Boys here, who are on defense, are going to be flaming the Penitent Engine that is coming in. And very sneaky for Orks, but they're just out of line of sight of this Battle Sister squad, so they're going to have to move next turn to get them into line of sight. As you can see, if I bring the camera down here, they're just in behind there, so they're safe. The Penitent Engine would have them in range and in line of sight, but we'll see if those Burner Boys can do something first. Into the center here, another crazy dice roll that's just about to happen is I'm going to be using the Jump, which is an ability from the Weird Boy leading this now 17 Ork Boy squad, and they can pop up anywhere on the field 9 inches away from models. So that could be just about anywhere. Behind the Battle Sister with the Sororitas Rhino, could be up on the landing pad or close to it, anywhere they want. And then over here, the main force that's holding that 5 point objective for the Orks has moved up. They were not in range to get into hand-to-hand combat, which is very good for the Adepta Sororitas because that Death Dread is really, really good in hand-to-hand combat. But it does have range attacks as well, and it's going to be putting some range firepower down on the Paragon Warsuits. The lone tank busta is going to be firing into the Castigator, which is why he is here. He's trying to bust a tank, being a tank busta. The remaining boys here, the 5 of them with their knob, or the 4 of them, with the knob are going to be firing into the castigator as well. And our little buddy on the back of our Orc War Boss and Mega Armor, call him again Grink Grink the Gretchen. He's going to be firing with the big Shooter into the castigator as well. Not amazing strength on it, but that is a better ballistic skill because it is a Gretchen firing in. So I think I will get some of these rolls on the camera. And playing as orcs is so much fucking fun. They're just like crazy, wild creatures that just want to get into a scrap and, you know, bust everybody up. So we'll get to the tray here in a sec. I think I'm going to do the jump roll first, then maybe some shoots, come back, show you guys what's happening there. Don't know if I'll get those on camera, but this hand-to-hand stuff going down here, definitely going to get that in the tray. So I will move through this, come back and show you guys what's going on with the shoot, and then we'll get into the dice tray for the jump and for the hand-to-hand combat. So good luck, Adepta Sororitas. If they can survive this, they might be in pretty good shape, but that's a lot of hand-to-hand combat melee attacks coming in, so we'll see how it goes. The orc shoots have been completed for turn 1. That 5+ build 6 skill of the orcs, not great, but they were able to actually do some pretty good damage. So the tank buster with the rocket pistol, the boys, and then most importantly, Grink Grink the Gretchen on top of the War Boss and Mega Armor were able to bring the castigator down to 7 wounds. So I got some crazy rolls, some 6s, which was just nuts. The Death Dread here did not fare as well. It fired with both of its big shooters into the Paragon Warsuits. Nothing happened. I checked here too just to make sure, but the Beast Snaga boys are not in range. There is one weapon in here that's 18 inches, but that's hitting right about here. And the Sisters Repentia are in cover, so that didn't get them. And then the rest of the pistols are all shooting out about here, but that's a big defensive force. So we're going to get over to the jump now. I'm going to be pulling this over to the tray to get that roll, and I'm going to see this can do a lot of harm to this unit, or it can move them pretty much anywhere on the table as long as they're 9 inches away from an Adepta Sororitas model. So we're going to go over the tray, do that right away, and then we'll get into the hand-to-hand combats there. I'll try to break it up, go back and forth between the table and the tray just to keep it exciting. But yeah, pretty good turn there for the orcs. And that castigator, like I removed one of its battle scars there with a requisition point. I really hope I don't have to do it again, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, over to the tray. So here's the roll for one of the craziest attacks the orcs have, or I don't know, abilities. So it is from a Weird Boy, which is like their equivalent to a Psyker, librarian in the Space Marines, whatever you want to say. The Weird Boys are nuts. They like try to keep themselves on the ground with like weights, and the Gretchen are holding them down because they get some crazy powers, I guess from the warp as well. So this is called the jump. Once per turn, so it's not once per battle, it's once per turn, which we're going to lock in now. At the end of your movement phase, which is now they didn't move, one Weird Boy from your army can use this ability. If it does, roll 1d6. On a 1, that Weird Boy's unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. So if we're cheering for the orcs here, we definitely don't want a 1 because that's going to be possibly up to 6 models killed from that unit. On a 2+, remove the Weird Boy's unit from the battlefield and set it up again anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from all enemy models. So I'm thinking I might drop them in right behind the Sororitas Rhino if I can. The landing pad, they'd have to climb up and they could get kind of chopped down by bolt gun fire. So I think that's a really good spot. I'll just have to measure it and see. But here it is. We need to roll for it first. So a 1 is definitely not what we want here. We want at least a 2+. So here we go. And it is a 6. So the jump has passed the test. I am going to be removing those orc boys and the Weird Boy, and they are going to be appearing somewhere on this battlefield 9 inches out from the Adepta Sororitas models. So I'm going to look around, do some strategy here, show you guys where they end up, and then I'll get over to where the hand-to-hand combat fighting is occurring right now, and we're going to get to that too. But first I got to move these orc boys, so I'll be right back and show you guys where they ended up. All right, so that is the end of the jump. It was passed. The Weird Boy was not stricken down by the warp. They have moved in just behind this building here, so they're all rammed in this little alleyway. They're exactly 9 inches away from the back of the Sororitas Rhino. So the 9 inches comes to just about here. This does still remain Adepta Sororitas objective, but as soon as these orc boys come around the corner, if the Battle Sisters have not peeled back in, I believe this objective will be going to the orcs. but we'll do the points there if we have to after that is done. Again, good old Games Workshop. I'm not 100% sure if these guys can still do a move, but since it's stated that at the beginning of your movement turn, do the jump, and that would seem to be instead of a move. So that is it for them for this turn, but they are right in behind an Adepta Sororitas objective, which they can definitely take next turn if they are lucky. Over here, we're going to get to the hand-to-hand combat in the tray right now. So again, we have the Killicans versus the Mortifier. We have the Death Dread versus the Celestian Sacrosanct, and we're going to get that rolling right now, and this is going to be an epic fight. That Hospitaller being attached to the Sacrosanct is probably going to give them the only hope they have of hanging around, because that Death Dread and hand-to-hand combat is fucking amazing. So let's see how it goes over the tray, and we'll get this melee started. Ooh, I'm so excited to get this going. So we're starting up with the Orks here. This is the Killicans. So they are Gretchen in there. It's kind of funny too, because the Gretchen usually get picked on by the Orks, but when they become Killican pilots, they're like bigger than Orks, so they can kind of push them back and bonk them on the head and stuff. So it's pretty amazing. The Killican Claw is 3 attacks, so I'll roll both of these. It's 4+ for the weapon skill. So these are hitting on a 4+. Not great. That was much better. So 2 have fallen off from the main attacks there. It is a strength 8 versus toughness 6 of the Mortifier. So this is going to be 3s to wound. And 2 fell off here. No miracle dice for those Orks, the poor guys. Oh yeah, and also I forgot to mention that I did use miracle dice during the original phase there with the Paragon Warsuits, I believe, shooting into either the Tank Busters, whoever that was, but I forgot to cover that, unless I did cover it, and I'm just too excited here trying to get the Orks fighting here. Anyways, we have 2 attacks through. It is a -2 to AP, so I'm going to switch out the dice here for the Mortifier. That brings the Mortifier up to its 6+ invulnerable, and any attacks that are not saved here are 3 damage per. So we are looking for 6+ here for our Mortifier. So we got 1. I'm just going to see if there's any abilities, because the Mortifier is new. They do have a Feel No Pain 5+. So this 3, that has passed. I'm going to see if I can get a 5 here. Did not. So there's definitely 3 wounds through. That brings the Mortifier from 5 wounds down to 2 wounds. I'm just over at the other side of the table, getting that reflected on the dice. So 2. I'm going to see if there's any other abilities that it has. So Anguish of the Unredeemed. Each time a model in this unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if that model has not fought this phase, roll 1d6. Not the case here, but very good to know. On a 2+, do not remove it from play. That destroyed model can fight after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks, and then it is removed from play. So that's not the case right now. It did survive. It's busted up pretty badly, though, down to 2 wounds, but it is going to be able to fight back here. It has a couple of different melee weapon stats here. This one, I gave it the Penitent Buzzblade, which is actually, no, Twin Buzzblade, so even better, there's going to be some twin linked ability here. So I've never played as a Mortifier, so I'm just checking it out. I don't have the flails, so it has a Penitent Buzzblade, Penitent Flail, so that's if you have 1 in each arm. I went with the twin Penitent Buzzblades, and then there's also twin Penitent Flails. But this is going to be the Buzzblades, so it is 4 attacks hitting on a 3+. They're twin-linked as well, so I can reroll the wound here. And these Killicans, we'll see what happens to them. So looking for 3s. So all are through except 1. That is a strength 10 weapon versus toughness 8. So this is going to be 3s to wound. I can reroll this one because it's twin-linked. There it is. I picked it up. It is -3 to AP, which brings the Killican up to its 6+ invulnerable. Just remove these red dice. So looking for 6s here for our Killicans. Oof, failed them all. And that is 2 damage per. So we have 2, 4, 6. Just going to walk over and see what kind of damage we got going on there. So that has killed the Killican that had 2 wounds remaining. And the other one has been brought down to 1 wound remaining. So the Killican still survives. Hold on, it was 2, 4, 6. So no, it has 2 wounds left. So the Killican has 2 wounds remaining, as does the Penitent Engine. But the Penitent Engine had to take on 2 of these things. So I'd say the Penitent Engine won that one. And now we're going to get over to the Death Dread versus the Celestian Sacrosanct. So apologies, was just looking at the wounds again there. That's what I get again for removing tokens too quickly. So the Killican has 1 wound, and the Mortifier has 2 wounds remaining after that bout. So I would say the Mortifier definitely came out with the win there. The Killican is still alive though, and that objective is still being held by the Burna Boys. We are moving now over to the Death Dread though. Very, very good model. It's got the Dread Claws, which are the main weapons of this thing, and then it also has Stompy Feet. So it's going to stomp the Celestian Sacrosanct and try to snap them in half with its Dread Claws. There are 4 attacks per Dread Claw. So it is going to be hitting on a 3+. Let's see if we can get through. So 2 fell off. Those are 2 1s. All the rest are good to go. I'm just going to check its abilities to see if there's any rerolls or anything. Piston-driven brutality. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy unit within engagement range of 1 or more units with this ability must take a battle shock test. I don't use that. You guys have probably seen in my previous videos. I fucking hate that rule. Any kind of morale bullshit. It's ridiculous. So here we go. All of those are through. It is a strength 12 versus toughness 3. This is going to be 2s to wound. All of those are through. Oof, this is not looking good. And it may move over to the Hospitaller as well if, oof, yeah, we'll have to see. So I'm going to use these dice, I think, again, for the save. The Celestian Sacrosancts do have the 4+ and vulnerable. And then the Hospitaller, I'm going to check again. I'm almost positive, gives them that feel no pain. Yeah, so feel no pain 5+, and then if they survive this, there is going to be secret healing. So there's a chance that we can get a few saves here, but let's see how it goes. So again, this is going to be 4+. Wow, that's not a bad roll. So we had these go through, so we have saves here, 4, 4, 5. Those are pulled out. This gives us another chance with the feel no pain, so we'll try to roll again and get some 5s here. Didn't get it. So that is 3 damage per. That's 3, 6, 9. That has killed our Celestian Sacrosancts, as there are only 5 of them. They have 1 wound apiece. And let's see if any of that moves over to the Hospitaller, because she is attached to that unit right now. So that's 3 wounds. And we have 3, 6, 9. Yeah, the Dread Claw, or of the Death Dread, Stompy Feet are not required. It has killed the Hospitaller and the Celestian Sacrosancts. I'm just going to remove those, make sure that the count is right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 1 extra wound there. That sucks. I just removed a Battle Scar too, with a requisition point for the start of that. I am going to get 2 miracle dice here for that, however. So we lost our Hospitaller and our Sacrosanct, and I'm going to roll Celestian Sacrosancts. I'm going to roll the dice right now. This was a really good hand-to-hand combat punch, as we kind of saw last game, but they are doing a lot of heavy lifting right now on that side of the table, and at least I still have my Mortifier and Penitent engines there, which can hopefully take down the Death Dread. If not, that Retributor squad is going to really have to start coming through. So let's get our miracle dice live here. Another 2. Woof. Where are my 5s and 6s from last game? And a 5. So at least I can like discard this if I want for a specific move. I know the Magifier, I think, can do something with that. So I have a 5 and a 2. So my dice pool currently is, oh yeah, I used that other one. So it is a 5 and a 2 total right now for my Miracle dice pool. And that is it for the Orc turn 1. I'm going to show you guys the field there in just a sec and where everyone sits, and then we're going to get it back over here to the Battle Sisters. Alrighty, so that is the aftermath of that fight. I think I might have to move the Mortifier and Penitent Engine in there against the Death Dread. The 2 of them together with the initiative might be able to do something. All of the objectives remain the same. So we have the Ministorum apartment complex here, 3 points, Sisters of Battle, but those Orks are just in behind the corner, so they might be taking that next turn. We have the other Ministorum area here, the smaller one, worth 2 points with the Orcs still. They've got the Burna Boys in there. The landing pad is still held currently by the Battle Sisters, 5 points. This one here, they did the jump, so this objective is actually quite open right now, and I might move some Battle Sisters in there to contend that land. but currently still held by the Orks, 5 points. This one here, they definitely don't want to let go of, 3 points here. And then down here is kind of the opposite to the Adepta Sororitas statue, because this here is being vacated. And pretty soon there could only be the Sisters Repentia in there. But I will look at everything, get a strategy going here. It's going back to the Adepta Sororitas. They lost a full squad there and the Hospitaller, so I have to also mark those 2 battle scars. And then we're going to get to this. I will do the movement, show you guys quickly the Adepta Sororitas move, and then we're going to get into shoots and hand-to-hand and roll anything in the tray that we think might be dramatic and cool. Sisters of Battle turn 2 movement complete. The Rhino wheeled back around. It heard the jump kind of make a big blast, and they just appeared out of nowhere. So the Stormbolter is going to be fixed on them. The Battle Sister squad here is back in their objective, so this would have to be contended to see what would happen. But we're going to see how many they can kill here. And it looks like from this angle, if I bring the camera down, the Sister Battle Sister squad definitely has the knob in the unit in line of sight. So I'm going to be administering the wounds to the squad for probably the 4 Sisters of Battle on the left, as well as the Magifier and the Stormbolter. So it's very possible it could kill some Orks here. On this side here, we had the Penitent Engine and the Mortifier go in against the Death Dread. I was just checking the toughness and strength here. So those buzzsaws that the Penitent Engine and Mortifier have are strength 10 versus the toughness 9 of the Death Dread. So I'm really hoping they can do some damage. If not, that Death Dread might snap them in half with its claw. And then the Killacan alone here is going to be facing the brunt of the Retributor squad. They have line of sight and range for every single weapon in there, as well as the Sister Superior's combat weapon and the plasma pistol for the Canoness if needed. Before moving this Battle Sister squad down, they do have that -1 to movement. Didn't want to try to move them in because they'd be just on the rooftop pretty much of this building, which is outside of the objective there. They're going to start firing down at this lone truck that's coming in with 10 boys in the back with weapons, ranged weapons, and a knob. So they need to start to take some wounds off of that. It also has a big shoot in it, so it could do some damage too. Haven't moved. They still hold that objective for sure. And then over here, Morven Val is trying to make a big push herself, and the Paragon Warsuits have gone in against the Death Dread here. Same story as the other side. If they do not kill this thing, it's very possible that it could start snapping some of the Paragon Warsuits in half. And then the Castigator is going to fire its Castigator cannon into that squad of boys to try to finish them off. And then the Heavy Bolters that are remaining on the chassis are going to fire into the lone Tank Busta and the Orc War Boss in Mega Armor. So we're going to get to that now. I'll do the shoots off camera, come back, show you guys what has happened there with everything. And then we're going to get into hand-to-hand and get that in the tray for sure, because this is going to be some really juicy melee combat. All right, that concludes the shoot for turn 2, Adepta Sororitas. The Battle Sisters here up on the landing pad, fired down to the truck. Not great rolls, but they were able to take 1 wound off, so it's down to 9 from 10. The toughness on the truck is also pretty high compared to bolt guns, but just because of the range there and the rapid fire 1, I was able to take that wound off. The Retributors fired down into the Killacan and was able to wipe it out. The hand-to-hand combat is still to happen here. In this corner where the Orcs did the jump, the Storm Bolter, as well as any of the Sisters of Battle that had line of sight and range, fired in, and were able to lessen this squad of Orc boys by a few models. The knob is still there, as well as the Weird Boy. Over here is where some amazing shoots happened. It was my Castigator finally pulling its weight. So it was able to kill the remaining boys that were here. It was able to kill the Tank Busta that was in front of it with one of its, we'll say the hull-mounted Heavy Bolter on the front. And then the 2 sponson-mounted Heavy Bolters fired into the Orc War Boss in Mega Armor and brought him down to 5 wounds. So he took 2 damage. The hand-to-hand combat is still to come here as well. For the Orcs too, I'm going to have to this truck was originally going to hop into that landing pad area. It might have to now pull in here to try to hold this objective, because the only model currently holding it is the Orc War Boss in Mega Armor. So the momentum may have shifted here, and the Sisters of Battle seem to be doing okay. It's back over to the Orks here in a bit, but first we have to finish off the Adepta Sororitas hand-to-hand to lock out their second turn. So I'll get back to the tray, and we're going to start rolling that right now. Okay, so we're going to start off this melee turn 2 for the Adepta Sororitas with the Penitent Engine and the Mortifier. These are two different models. They have similar profiles, but I'll go between both. And if they do not kill the Death Dread here, it is going to be able to fight back, and it can do a lot of damage, and that goes the same for Morven Val, the Paragon Warsuits as well on the other side of the table. So we're going to start up here. It is the Twin Penitent Buzzblades for the Mortifier. They are twin-linked, hitting on a 3+. So we got 3, 3, 4, 1. I did use a Miracle Dice there too for the Retributors to take out the Killacan. So that dice is gone. I have 1 left in the pool, and it was the 2 that I rolled. So not a great dice unless I can sacrifice it for something. We'll have to see. But these 3 are through. It is a Strength 10 weapon against Toughness 9, and I can reroll this since it is twin-linked. So looking for 3s to wound. Thank goodness I have that. I might be able to pick up another attack here. And I did. So 3 attacks are through. It is -3 to AP. That brings the Death Dread up to a 5+. I'll bring the blue dice in here. So looking for 5s here for the Death Dread. Oh, wow. That's damn good. So it saved every single Twin Penitent Buzzblade attack there. I was not expecting that. It would have been 2 damage per if it hadn't done that, but it did, and we just saw it happen. So the Orks are still fighting here, tooth and nail, and the Ork that is piloting that Death Dread is pissed off. So I'm going to remove these. That's it for that one. It is now over to the Penitent Engine, and I'm going to be again using the Twin Penitent Buzzblades. So 2 different models, same weapon profile. This again is 4 attacks, this time hitting on a 4+. So 2 fell off. I can't reroll that. They are twin-linked, but that's only for the wound. So those 2 fall off, and my Miracle Dice is not high enough to give me anything more. So this is Strength 10 against Toughness 9, 3s to wound. Don't need to reroll. I have both through. Again, that is a -3 to AP, which brings the Death Dread up to a 5+. And let's see if it can make another insane save. Not as good this time, so it didn't pass any this time. And that is 2, 4, 6 wounds through to the Death Dread. I'm just going to make that reflect on its token here. So it goes from 8 wounds down to 2. It is still alive, and it's going to be able to fight back here, and that is bad news for the Penitent Engine and the Mortifier. And since they're both locked in hand-to-hand, mattering how many attacks I get here, it could transfer over. I'm going to be allocating the first wounds, however, to the Penitent Engine because it's just not as good as the Mortifier. Very, very close, but the Mortifier's got the edge on it a little bit. So we are going to roll the Dread Claw here. This is 4 attacks hitting on a 3+. I haven't even started the WOG yet. And when that happens, we'll get to it in a second here. So I might be locking that in next turn because I think we're going to need that extra punch. But anyways, we'll get this done first. So this is hitting on a 3+. 2 fell off. There's an ability here called Dead Choppy. Hold on. The attacks characteristics of this weapon is increased by 1 for each additional Dread Claw the bear. Okay, so I have 2 Dread Claws here, so I get actually an extra attack, so that goes up to 5. So I'm going to roll this as well. I'm glad I checked that. Didn't matter. Didn't go through. So we have 2 attacks through, though, with the Dread Claw. It is a Strength 12 versus a Toughness 6. The Penitent Engine, pretty good toughness, but not compared to the Dread Claw. And this is going to be wounding on a 2+. Both are through. It is a -2 to AP. That brings the Penitent Engine up to its 6+ invulnerable. So here we go. And it has failed both. It needed 6s, and that is 3 wounds apiece from damage. So that destroys the Penitent Engine. It knocks off another wound from the Mortifier. So the Mortifier is down to 1 wound left. I'm going to have to mark a Battle Scar for the Penitent Engine. We will also roll a Miracle Dice if that is the case, because Penitent Engines are like, I don't know if they get the, yep, they do have the Act of Faith. So we'll roll that right now and see what I get. It's just because usually the Penitent Engine is like a criminal or a deserter or something that left the Imperium, and they've been strapped into one of these suits to kind of live the rest of their days just in madness fighting everything. But here we go. So Acts of Faith. It is a 5. I will take that. And I also just noticed on the profile there is a Deadly Demise 1. So I'll just read this again. It's a core ability. Some models have Deadly Demise X listed in their abilities. When such a model is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. This is not a transport, so that does not pertain. On a 6, each unit within 6 inches of that model suffers a number of mortal wounds denoted by X. So if this is a 6, this might actually kill the mortifier and at least strip a wound off the Death Dread, but we'll see what happens. And it was a 5. So the Penitent Engine just exploded. Nothing happened there. The wound, however, was given to the mortifier. And we are not done with the Death Dread here. It has its Stompy Feet, which are extra attacks. I'm just going to get the mortifier profile up here, so I'm making sure that I'm putting the right stuff here. These Death Dreads are really good models, like really, really good. I don't know if there's, for that point value, the amount of range and hand-to-hand you get, I'm not sure if there's anything else out there. Maybe my good old Hellhound for the Imperial Guard. But anyways, here we go. So Stompy Feet, it is 4 attacks hitting on a 3+. So 2 have fallen off. That gives a little bit of a chance. I should be rolling my blue dice here, but anyways, yeah, I'll switch it out. So this is the Orks fighting. So 2 are through. It is a strength 5 versus toughness 6, so a much lesser strength attack than its Dreadclaw. So looking for 5s to wound here. And that is a 3 and a 1, so that is the end for the Death Dread and its attacks. It does, however, move back over to the Mortifier now, and the Mortifier is going to be able to do a counterattack because it has survived. So we're going to be using the twin Penitent Buzz Blades again. It's tough to say. Hitting on a 3+. And nothing there. Oh no, what am I doing? This was the Adepta Sororitas. So no, forget that. Cancel that out. That is it for that move. So the Death Dread has survived. It is not a counterattack because that was not the Death Dread that did that move. It was the Mortifier and the Penitent Engine. So the Mortifier has 1 wound left. The Death Dread has 2. After that, a bunch of attacks came through, and it was the Death Dread that did the counterattack there just to correct everything, and that was able to kill the Penitent Engine and wound the Mortifier. So now that is the end of turn 2 for the Sisters of Battle, Adepta Sororitas, and it is moving back over to the Orks for their movement. So I'll get the move down, show you guys what they have done, and then we'll get to the shoots and all that. No, geez Louise, I'm jumping the gun here. We still have a whole bunch of hand-to-hand attacks. So I'm going to go back to the table, sum some stuff up, and then we'll get to those. There, so just show you guys, break up my video here a bit, get out of the dice tray. So that is the aftermath of the Death Dread and the Mortifier. Mortifier, 1 wound, Death Dread, 2 wounds left. Totally forgot about this, so apologies. It's another going to be epic battle here I have to remember as well. This is the Adepta Sororitas turn. They have the initiative, and if there is a counterattack, it is by the Death Dread, not vice versa. They don't get to just keep fighting back and forth. So we're going to get to the tray again. We're going to roll this off. Paragon Warsuits first, then Morvenval, and then if the Death Dread is still alive, it will be able to counterattack. And I hope it doesn't do too much damage because that's kind of the big punch of my force. So over to the tray again. Apologies for that, getting ahead of myself. Super excited for this one. And we'll see how Morvenval and her Paragon Warsuits do. Holy Dinah. So yeah, I was super excited there, getting ahead of myself. Anyways, this is now Morvenval. I'm going to start up with her attacks against the Death Dread on the opposite side of the table. Lance of Illumination has 2 profiles. I'm going to be using the Strike profile as it has a higher strength, but it is not higher than the toughness of the Death Dread. So I'm just going to look at the abilities here too of Morvenval to make sure I'm not missing anything. Righteous Repugnance. Each time this model's unit is selected to shoot or fight, you can discard 1 miracle dice. If you do, until the end of the phase, add 3 to the attack's characteristics of Fidelis and the Lance of Illumination. Each time an enemy unit is destroyed by this model, you gain 1 miracle dice. So I'm going to lock that in right now because we're fighting one of the best models for the Orks. I'm going to get rid of this 2 miracle dice. So it's nice that they have that built in. Like if you roll a shitty dice, you can still use it to do that. So I'm locking in Righteous Repugnance. I have used my miracle dice. It is out of my pool. I only have a 5 remaining in there, which I might still use here if I don't get the attacks. But that means that I'm adding 3 attacks characteristics to the Lance of Illumination here. So it usually has 5 attacks. That is now going to be 8. I'm going to grab my dice. And Morvenval is a pretty damn good character. So let's see how she does here. This is usually 5 attacks, now 8 because of that ability I just locked in, hitting on a 2+. Ooh, very good. Don't need to use any miracle dice yet. That's great. Strength 8 versus toughness 9 though, so this is going to have to be 5s to wound. Quite a few fell off there. So I'm going to move these away. I'm going to switch this guy out for my remaining miracle dice, which is a 5. Make sure that I get that through. It is a -2 to AP. That brings the Death Dread up to a 4+, so still not amazing, but we'll take it. It has saved quite a few. There is 3 damage per though from this, so this is 1, 2, 3 against the Death Dread. It goes from 8 wounds down to 5, and it still has to survive the attacks here from the remaining Paragon Warsuits that are with Morvenval. So I'm going to remove these, and we're going to get on to the Paragon Warsuits now. Let's get in their profile up here, make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm also going to check their abilities again, just to be sure. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle unit, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. Let's see if this is considered. It is considered a vehicle. So the Death Dread is a vehicle. This is going to be taking part as part of this melee, so it's called Righteous Paragons, and that is an attack. So it doesn't matter if it's range or melee. I am going to start with the Paragon Warblade, and I can do the add 1 to hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. So here we go. It is 4 attacks hitting on a 3+. And this is going to become a 3, so that is through. It is strength 8, toughness 9, so it's going to be 5s to wound. Okay, and we got 1 5 and a 6. That's great. -2 to AP. It's going to be a 4+ again. Death Dread has saved both. This is getting a little tricky here. So we're going to be moving to the Paragon War Mace, which is the weapons with the 2 other Paragon Warsuits, and we can add 1 to the hit roll here and add 1 to... good old Games Workshop again, I'm not sure. So each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a monster vehicle unit, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. So I've kind of already done that, but is that per attack, per model? Each time a model in this unit. So yeah, each time. So this should be an add 1 to hit and add 1 to wound as well for this. So we're going to roll the Paragon War Mace now, 3 attacks hitting on a 3+. This turns into a 2, not high enough. I am, however, going to roll the other. Looking for 3s. That 2 becomes a 3. So there we go. Those are all through. This is now the wound roll. It is strength 12, the Paragon War Mace versus toughness 9, 3s to wound, and I can add 1 on here. Yep, so this 2 gets a 3 because I get 1 added. Not as high in armor penetration as the Paragon Warblade, but there is 5 attacks through, and they are -1 to AP, so our Death Dread now has a 3+ save. Ooh, so we got a 5, a 5, a 3. These are tough dice to see sometimes because that looks like, but yeah, that's 5, 5, 3. 2 are through, and it is 3 damage per, so 3, 6. Oof. That is the end of the Death Dread. So, wow. It has been removed. That was a big, big model for the Orks. So really good to get off the table. And I am going to be able to get a unit kill there. I'm going to pass that on to my Paragon Warsuits for their experience and towards any battle honors I want to give them in the next battles, if that's the case, mattering how many unit kills they get. But all that remains right now is the Ork War Boss in Mega Armor. I'll show you guys the table here in just a sec and the aftermath of that, and then it's going back over to the Orks. All right, so that is the end of the Adepta Sororitas turn. Their move, shoot, and hand-to-hand is done. Very, very good turn there for them. They were able to do a lot of damage, take out a Death Dread, which is a very high-powered unit for them. There's going to be some objectives here that may go over to the Adepta Sororitas after this too, unless the Orks can really get them back. Down here as well, we saw earlier, This was a great show off. The Penitent engine was lost, but the Mortifier remains with 1 wound. And the Orks are going to be peeling around here to, try to fight over this objective as well. So I'm going to move the Orks. I will come back, show you guys what I have decided to do with them. Playing hard for both sides as always. I might have to actually start to move these guys too. That is a unit though, so I'd have to leave the Pain Boy here, which would mean that he would not really be doing much with his ability. But I'll have to think a few things through, see what's going on, and I will come back and show you guys what the Orks have done. So Orc move for turn 2 is done. These Sisters of Battle are in trouble. There's a whole bunch of Orc boys and a weird boy that have gone into hand-to-hand combat with them. They're not great at shooting, but holy shit, they're good in hand-to-hand combat. And just the amount of attacks that are going to be coming down here, that might be the end of this objective for the Sisters of Battle. We'll have to see. Over here, the Burner Boys have really taken cover here with the Retributors here. The Death Dread has gone into hand-to-hand combat with the Mortifier here, which is going to be another really good scrap. The Beast Snagga boys have stayed here with the Pain Boy, holding down that one area that has been there since the start of the battle for those 3 points. The Slugga and Shuda boys came out of the back of the truck, and there's actually probably some Battle Sisters up here on the landing pad that are in range. So we're going to see how that goes. The big Shuda in the truck, some other stuff there too. And then down here, the Orc Warboss and Mega Armor wanted to take that initiative. This model is fantastic in hand-to-hand combat. I'm also going to lock down the Wog for this as well to really heighten the strength of him, as well as the boys that are fighting the Adepta Sororitas Rhino Battle Sister squad over on the other side of the table. And he's very, very capable and might actually kill 1 or 2 of the Paragon Warsuits. We'll have to see what the future holds. The Wog, I'm not sure if it helps out with the range, but I'll have to check that out, and we'll definitely read that profile when we get over to the tray. So I'm going to do the shoots off camera. I will come back and see if any of these Orc boys have been heightened by that Wog being called and firing at the landing pad Sisters of Battle. And then we'll move through this one again and see how turn 2 ends up for the Orcs. The Orc shoot has concluded. Definitely not their strong suit. I had the entire Orc boys section here with their Shudas, Fire In, Big Shuda, and Rocket Launcher, as well as the Big Shuda on the truck. At the Battle Sisters here, they were able to kill 1. 1 model is here. The force still has 9 remaining. These guys in hand-to-hand would still be pretty good. The Wog has been called as per the beginning of this phase, so our War Boss is going to get some big buffs there with that, as well as the Orc Boys section here fighting the Imagifier and the Sisters of Battle squad. Over to the tray, and we're going to see how potent that Wog is going to be in killing these models and possibly taking over some objective points. And we're actually going to start the hand-to-hand combat with the Death Dread versus the Mortifier. I had forgotten about that when I was just showing the table, so to make sure I don't forget that turn or that phase before I move on, this is the first one. The Wog has also been called for this turn, so I'm going to read the faction ability that it is. So if your army faction is Orcs, which is the case here, once per battle, at the start of your command phase, you can call a Wog. That has been done. If you do, until the start of your next command phase, the Wog is active for your army, and units from your army with this ability are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advanced. Add 1 to the strength and attacks characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models from your army with this ability, which is going to be huge for the Death Dread, for the Orc boys, and for the Orc Warboss in Mega Armor. And then lastly, models from your army with this ability have a 5+ invulnerable save. So that carries over from this turn into the Sisters of Battle. So if they start to plunk away at that Death Dread with their Retributor guns, it will have a 5+ invulnerable, which is higher than its usual 6. But let's get to it. This is the Dread Claws, again, of the Death Dread. It's going to be a 1 to strength and attacks characteristics. So the strength, usually 12, goes to 13, and it gets 5 attacks instead of 4. So here we go, hitting on a 3+. So that is a 5, 6, 6, 3. 2 did not hit. This is strength 13 versus toughness 6. It's going to be 2s to wound. All of those are through. It is a -2 to AP. So I'm going to grab up 4 red dice here. That brings the mortifier up to its 6+. It was able to save 1. However, it has been destroyed, as that is 3 damage per. So 3, 6, 9. I believe it has a deadly demise. It does. Deadly demise 1. So I am going to rule that. That rule was just explained as well. So on a 6, each unit within 6 inches of the mortifier suffers a number of mortal wounds depicted by the X. So that is a 1 in this case. So if it's a 6, the Death Dread is going to take a wound. And it was the exact opposite. It is a 1. So that means the Death Dread has exploded the mortifier. The mortifier has been removed, and the Death Dread is victorious. I am just going to remove that model, mark its battle scar, and we're going to get over to the hand-to-hand combat with the Orc Boys and the Battle Sister Squad. Alrighty, and before we start up this hand-to-hand, I do get a Miracle Dice roll for the Mortifier. Another 2. They're not going great this time, but maybe I can sacrifice that for something. So currently the pool only has that dice in it. It is a 2. The WOG is still active, and we are going to see what it's going to do for the boys here. So they all have choppas, which are, no, the knob has a power claw. So we'll start with the power claw. Super strong weapon. There's going to be a +1 to strength here and a +1 to attacks. So the power claw usually has 3 attacks. It's going up to 4, and it is strength 9, but will be strength 10 with that WOG being active. So it's hitting on a 4+. Oof, it's got to hit though to be able to do that. So we got 1 through, it's a 5. And it is strength 10 versus toughness 3. 2s to wound. Got the 2. Oof, I don't even know. It's a -2 to AP. So the Battle Sisters are up to a 5+ save. Let's see if they can save it. They did not. And that is, yeah, it's still 2 damage. So that means 2 Battle Sisters have been lost from this squad. With the War Boss, when we get to that, he actually gets additional damage characteristics as well. I was thinking that was for everybody, but 2 Battle Sisters have been lost just to the knob. Next up here is going to be the rest of the boys with their choppa. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that used to be the 20-man squad. There's 12 remaining, and it is 3 attacks per. So I don't even know if I have enough dice here. I'm going to be rolling my red and my black. I have 20 red, so that is, the choppa is 3 times 10, 30. 36 attacks. So let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. All right, so I'm just going to do a mess of dice rolls here. Apologies, all you Orc players, if I'm not counting right here, but it's a hell of a lot of attacks. These are also hitting on a 3+, which is way better than their ballistic skill of 5+. So any 3s here are through. Here we go. Look at this. Just a mishmash of dice. So I'll start with the red and pull all the 1s and 2s out of there. And actually with that, I even get more attacks because, because the WOG. So we'll just stick with these for now because this is going to be like way too much. Because I get additional 1 attacks for each model as well. So there's a 2 here. I'm going to try to keep picking them out. The blue dice are all good. So what I'll do here is I'll soup these out so they're all the same size. So I just removed 3 blue dice that passed. There we go. So this is our remaining dice pool for the attacks that are actually going through to wound. So the choppa is a strength 4, now a strength 5 versus toughness 3. This is going to be 3s to wound. Remove these. There we go. Do you guys see any more in there? I think that's it. So I'm going to use these dice as the save. It is a -1 to AP. That brings the Battle Sisters up to a 4+ save. So these have been saved. And the thing is here, the Battle Sisters might win this. It's starting to look like, I don't know, it's getting a little bit tricky. But the Battle Scars, again, are being added up here. The Orcs don't have to worry about that, but my Battle Sisters do because this is their crusade. So it's usually a 3+ save with the Battle Sister Power Armor. That is brought up to a 4. So all of these have been saved here. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 have gone through. They are, however, with the Imagifier. So I just want to make sure. I think they might have that invulnerable save with that. So yeah, while this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a save characteristic of 2+ and a 4+ invulnerable. So it still is the case here. It wasn't high enough to get up to that to make the 4+ matter. So all of these have wounded. So it's a regular save of 2. Since this is a -1 to AP, it brings them to their invulnerable save, which is that 4+. So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that have gone through. That kills the remaining Battle Sisters here, which are 2, 4, 6, 8. And that brings our Imagifier down to 2 wounds from the original 3. So she is all that remains of that force. And there is still the Weird Boy's attacks that have to come in here because the Weird Boy is leading that unit. So whatever the Imagifier is doing to buff out, or was doing to buff out those sisters, is now having to face the leader of that squad. I am going to roll also a miracle dice here. So just bear with me while I get through all these friggin' dice. Here it is, miracle dice for the loss of the Battle Sister squad. And finally, I got a 6. So I might be able to use that right now, considering what's going on. I'm moving over to the Weird Boy profile, and the Weird Boy actually has a pretty good weapon, if I recall, for hand-to-hand as well. And then if somehow the Imagifier survives this, she is going to be able to fight back with whatever little amount she has there. So the melee weapon for the Weird Boy is the Weird Boy Staff. It is 3 attacks, which is now 4 because of the log, so hitting on a 3+. All of those are through except 1. It is strength 9 now against toughness 3, 2's the wound. 1 fell off. These 2 are both through. It is a -1 to AP. That brings our Imagifier up to her 4+ invulnerable. So she saved 1 with a 5. This, however, has gone through, and it is D3 damage. So if I get a 3, 4, 5, or 6 here, the Imagifier is dead. She is dead. So this gets cut in half. I should have made that a blue dice. This was the damage characteristic from the Weird Boy Staff, so that becomes 2.5, rounded up as 3. The Imagifier only had 2 wounds, however, though, so she has gone down. I'm also going to be getting a dice out here for her miracle dice. So this objective has fallen, and it is now the Orks. And I got another 6, however, though. The only model remaining on that objective, and I'm just going to check its objective points. So while we're here, the Weird Boy alone has an OC of 1, so objective control point 1. And the Sororitas Rhino has objective control points of 2. So if it was just those 2 models, it would mean that the Adepta Sororitas still hold that. However, a boy squad has an objective control of 2, as does the Boss Knob. I don't know if that's the same unit or not, but right now, the Ministorum / apartment building complex that used to be Adepta Sororitas held has fallen to the Orks. I'm just putting a token there, and the only Adepta Sororitas model left there is the Rhino, so I'll show you guys that in just a sec. So there it is. The Astra Militarum Imperial Guard token has been flipped over to an Orky green one. They have just taken 3 points and have actually taken the lead for this objective control battle during turn 2. That just shows the power of the Orks in hand-to-hand. The last model here is the Sororitas Rhino. I don't know how long it's going to last. Against shoots, no problem, but if the Orks get in there again with hand-to-hand, that might be the end of it. Also over here, just to show that, the Death Dread did kill the Mortifier, and the Mortifier exploded, but it did not damage the Death Dread, and that's a good thing because the Death Dread does only have 2 wounds remaining. And now we are getting over to this to finish turn 2 for the Orks. We have the War Boss and Mega Armor with the Wog buffing him out hardcore versus the Paragon Warsuits and Morvenn Vahl. The War Boss here He wants to crumpet, get into a fight, and he sees a nice golden suit and it just attacks it right away. Even if he does go down here, I think he's going to do some damage. So we will see. And he was able to leave that objective because the truck and the Orc boys have jumped in there to hold it. So we're over to the dice tray again. We'll get this one rolling, starting with the Orc War Boss in Mega Armor, and see if the Paragon War Suits and Morvenn Vahl can survive this. So here it is. We have the Warlord of the Orc Force, the Orc Mega Boss in Orc War Boss in Mega Armor versus Morvenn Vahl and her Paragon Warsuit Bodyguard. So the WOG is still active, and while it is active, we have an added 1 strength and added 1 attacks characteristics to melee weapons. So that brings the huge chopper up to 5 attacks from 4, which is insane. It goes from strength 12 to strength 13, and specific to this character, there is Dead Brutal. So while the WOG is active for your army, this model's huge chopper has a damage characteristic of 3 instead of 2. So every attack that gets through here is going to be 3 damage instead of 2. We have to first hit, however, so these are the 5 attacks because of that WOG instead of 4. So hitting on a 2+. All are through. That is not good for the Paragon Warsuits. It is strength 12, actually strength 13 versus toughness 7. So this is going to be 3s to wound. Oh no, not a good roll there by the War Boss. So 4 dice have fallen off. That's what he needed to be able to do this. It is -2 to AP. So I'll switch to our red dice. That is up to a 4+ invulnerable for the Paragon Warsuits. Didn't save it, so instead of 2 damage, that is 3. If all of those attacks had gone through, it's very possible that he may have killed most of them. So that means that one of the Paragon Warsuits has gone down to 1 wound, the other 2 still have their 4, and it is back over to the Paragon Warsuits and Morvenn Vahl to do their counterattack. So I'll start up with the Paragon Warblade. This is going to be 4 attacks hitting on a 3+. So I do have some dice in my dice pool, and I think I'm going to use them right now. So I'm going to make those 2 6s. I still have 1 left in my Miracle Dice pool. It is a dice roll of 2, so not great. These are all through, though. It is strength 8 versus toughness 6, 3s to wound. This one falls off. These 3 are through. So we're going to get our dice out here. It is a -2 to AP. The War Boss is up to the 4+ save. He usually has a 5+ invulnerable, but this is going to be a 4. He has not saved 2. Not rolling great for my Orc War Boss this time. This model in the past has been super good. So this is 2 damage per, so we have 2, 4, and that has our War Boss down to 1 wound. I don't think he's going to be able to survive this unless miracle starts to happen. So that was the Paragon Warblade from the Paragon Warsuit Superior. Now we're moving over to the Paragon War Maces, which are even stronger. So this is hitting on a 3+. 2 fell off. Get the other one in here. Those are all through. It is strength 12 versus toughness 6. This is actually going to be 2s to wound. All of those are through. Not looking good for our Orc War Boss here in Mega Armor. So it is going to be -1 to AP. That is a 3+ invulnerable. We did save 1, so there's a 3 right there. However, 3 damage has gone through per. So that is 3, 6, 9, enough to kill the War Boss outright from the start of the game. So the Paragon Warsuits have got another kill. They've killed the War Boss of this army. And even though the Orcs took that objective, that means that their main strong model that was on that center objective has been removed. And I'm looking over the table here. We're going to sum everything up in a second. But that seems to be it for turn 2 for both sides. No, there was no, a couple wounds delivered to the Paragon Warsuits, but that was it. So I'll show you the table. We'll sum up all the points here as well. Just do it on camera really quick. And I'll let you guys know where each force is at the end of that one. So here is the aftermath for both forces after the end of turn 2. I'm probably going to be taking a break after this one too. For you guys, it'll be just a couple seconds. For me, it might be a few hours, maybe start this one back up again tomorrow. But just to sum everything up, we have 7 points total right now for the Sisters of Battle. So we still hold the old little village or town, whatever this used to be, with the 2 points. And they also hold the landing pad, which is 5 for a total of 7. The center objective here for the Orks is still held by the Ork boys and the truck, so that's 5 points. The Beastnaga boys still hold this. That is 3 points for a total of 8. We have this Ministorum apartment complex here for 2 points. That is 10, and that's being held by the Bruna boys. And then last but not least, we had the Ork boys do the jump here with the Weird Boy. They just messed up that Battle Sister squad. They have 3 points from this corner objective, so it is currently 13 for the Orks, 7 for the Sisters of Battle. This one is nowhere near done as we're moving back over to the Battle Sisters, and it's very possible that Morven Val could move in here with her Paragon Warsuits and the Castigator and take that center objective. This is still being held currently, but that Death Dread is a little bit scary, and it's getting very close. Not many Ork models holding this in here right now with just the 5 Bruna boys. This is a bit worrisome for the Adepta Sororitas because that's still a pretty medium point value objective that is being held by only the Rhino. Well, it's actually not being held because the Orks have the higher objective control points there. Yeah, I'm going to take a break. It'll be back over to the Adepta Sororitas when I get back to this one, and we will see how this battle continues to move ahead. Lost a lot of units, though. There's been a lot of battle scars ministered again to some of my new units and to some that already had battle scars. So yeah, we'll see how this one ends and what kind of shape my Adepta Sororitas army is in for their next Narrative Crusade battle after this one. All right, so I've just done the Adepta Sororitas move. I will show you guys that in just a second, but first we have to get our miracle dice here for this turn of our Battle Sisters, and it is a 6. That's what I'm talking about. So that is my current, I have a 6 and a 2 in the dice pool, and you know what, while we're live, I might as well show you guys where they've all moved. So the Adepta Sororitas Rhino with that -1 to movement, move back as far as it could, 11 inches. It's going to try to put that Stormbolter down on that group of Ork boys. With the Weird Boy, there's no one inside the Rhino as that Battle Sister squad was absolutely shredded by the Ork boys, but we'll see if I can clip a few models there. The Retributors remain up on this side of the landing structure, and they're going to be shooting down at a badly wounded Death Dread with 2 wounds remaining, hoping that if they get some good rolls there, the Multi-Meltas, Heavy Bolter, and maybe even the Flamer can do some damage. And we also have the Canoness there and the Sister Superior. Battle Sisters here moved right to the lip. They're going to be firing down at these Ork boys with the Shootas and the ranged weapons. Over here, our Beastnaga boys that have been here since the beginning of the game with the Pain Boy will be facing an onslaught of fire from the Paragon Warsuits and Morven Val. The big thing here is, though, the Pain Boy is leading them, so he's going to give them a bit of an extra save with that Feel No Pain. Get to those abilities in a sec as we start to roll. The Sister Repentia are still here holding down this objective, and the Castigator has pulled around here. It's going to be putting its Castigator battle cannon onto the truck, and then its Heavy Bolter arrays are going to be firing on those boys as well, unless the Battle Sisters can do a lot of damage, and I can use those Heavy Bolters instead on the truck. So I'm going to do all those shoots off camera, come back, show you guys what has happened, promise to be legit for all sides, and I'll show you how many Ork models are left and what happened there. If anything dramatic starts to happen, I will get the camera rolling on the dice tray, but for now, I think we are good, and save some time there by getting some of that stuff done, and we'll see if the Orks lose any of their objective positions. So over to the dice tray for me. Be right back in a sec and show you guys what's up. So I thought I'd actually shoot this one in the dice tray. I just finished off with the Stormbolter. It got a rapid fire 2, so 4 shots in total into the Ork boys that are being led by that Weird Boy. I was able to kill 1, but definitely not as many as I was hoping. I'm now moving over to the Retributor squad versus the Death Dread. And yeah, I haven't gotten many Sisters of Battle shoots on camera yet, so I thought this would be a good one because it may be the end of what's left of the Ork's strongest model. So I'm going to start off with the Sister Superior's combi weapon. It's a 4+. Didn't hit. I also have the ability to pull that 6 out that I rolled for Miracle Dice at the beginning of this turn. I'll probably put it in for something though more like the multi-melta in case I need it. So we're going to do the Heavy Bolter now. It is 3 attacks hitting on a 4+. They actually didn't move either, so that's a 3+ now. Doesn't matter, those two fell off. It is Strength 5 versus Toughness 9. You need a 5 to wound. Didn't get it. Not rolling great. But yeah, the heavy ability here, so since they are heavy weapons, as long as the models do not move, they get a +1 to their ballistic skill to help out with that. So that is what happened there. I'm going to do the Ministorum Heavy Flamer, and I will save the Multi-Meltas until the end, because that might be the ones that'll break the Dreadnoughts, the Death Dreads back. So here we go. This is the Ministorum Flamer, D6 attacks, and 6. That is exactly what we wanted. So from that, I get 6 attacks. It's an automatic hit, Torrent Weapon, Strength 6, Toughness 9, 5s again to wound. And those get pulled 2 or through though. It is a -1 to AP, so that brings the Death Dread up to a 3+. Ooh, and that's a 2 and a 6. That is 1 damage, so that means that our Death Dread goes from 2 wounds down to 1 wound. The Penitent Engine and Mortifier did their damage there earlier. They may have been destroyed, but at least they're able to do that. Now it comes down to the Multi-Meltas. So this is heavy, so it is going to be a +3 here instead of a +4 for ballistic skill. So I got 1. I'm not going to use that dice just yet, my Miracle Dice. It is a Toughness 9, Strength 9, so 4 to wound. Oof, got it. -4 to AP. That brings the Death Dread up to a 6+ invulnerable. It did not get it, so no matter what, the Death Dread has fallen. It is D6 damage, however, so let's see. And that was 6 wounds allocated. It does have the Melta 2, and that might actually be within 9 inches, so that might have actually been 8 attacks in total. Wasn't needed, but that would have killed the Death Dread right off the bat. So the Orks have lost their probably strongest remaining model on the board, which is great for our Battle Sisters. I'm just removing the Death Dread over with the Killicans and the other Death Dread. So I'm going to continue the shoots here off camera. I will come back and show you guys what happened with the remaining table. We have Morven Vol and the Paragon Warsuits versus that massive line of Beast Boys. Then I have the Castigator versus the Truck and the Orc Boys, and that other Battle Sister squad versus the Orc Boys as well. So I'll get to that, come back and show you guys what the Adepta Sororitas Battle Sisters have been able to do to the Orcs. Hoping my luck changes here. I thought I'd get this one rolling again. This is Morven Vol and the Paragon Warsuits versus that line of Beast Boys led by the Pain Boy. The Beast Boys usually have a 6+, feel no pain, but since the Pain Boy is in there, they actually have a 5+ now, so that's going to give them some chances. With Morven Vol's ability, though, I am going to use the Righteous Repugnance again, so I'm discarding the low Miracle Dice that I rolled, which was a 2 earlier, and I used the 6 previously to try to get some wounds off of that damn Orc Truck, and it did not work. Also, the Battle Sister squad fired down at the Orc Boys and weren't really able to do much, so the Castigator Battle Cannon did nothing. And then it was the Heavy Bolter arrays on the Castigator that were able to kill 3 of the Orc Boys, and the Battle Sisters were able to kill 1 or 2. That is the ranged attack ones that are right beside the Battle Sister statue there. So we have 6 remaining from that squad. They were in the truck since the beginning of the game and jumped out to hold that initiative. But anyways, we're going to get to this one now. I'm starting with Morven Vol, and since I have used that, it is going to have the Righteous Repugnance activated, and this again is each time this model's unit is selected to shoot or fight, you can discard 1 Miracle Dice. If you do, until the end of the phase, add 3 to the attack's characteristics of Fidelis and the Lance of Illumination, and then each time an enemy unit is destroyed by this model, you gain 1 Miracle Dice. So if they are destroyed here by some chance, I get a Miracle Dice from that by using 1, and the ranged weapon of Morven Vol is Fidelis, so we're going to be using that right now. And with that ability, it does have the additional 3 attacks, so a lot more firepower coming out. It's pretty much like a master-crafted Heavy Bolter. I didn't want to get these guys right into combat either. They're not really in range. The Beast Snagga boys are very good hand-to-hand. So let's see how it goes here. And they also have that toughness 5. So this might be pretty tough for Morven Val and her team to do away with, but let's see. So we're hitting on a 2+. Can't believe I got a 1, but there it is. The rest are through. It is strength 6 against toughness 5. That's going to be 3s to wound. Woof. 2 more fell off. That is 3 attacks through. I'm going to grab some dice here. Fidelis is a -1 to AP, so this brings the Beast Snagga boys up to a 6+. And 1 was actually able to save it. These 2 have not been saved. That was a 5 and a 3, but I do have that Feel No Pain 5+. And the Feel No Pain 5+ was not able to help either. So that is 2 2s. It is 2 damage per. So we have 4 of the Beast Snagga boys who have been killed. So I'm just going to remove those models so I don't forget. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And I forget where I keep these guys. Are they usually... No, I put them in a different box. Just so when I have them stored, I know where they are. So yeah, with Morven Val leading the unit here too, before I forget, there is the Abbess Sanctorum. So while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll. That is huge. So now it's going to be over to the Paragon Warsuits. They have not fired yet, and they actually have better firepower than Morven Val in those multi-meltas. We'll start off with the heavy bolter though from the Paragon Suit Superior. So this is 3 attacks hitting on a 3+. And I can reroll this. Didn't matter, got a 2. I can also reroll this. This is 4s. They are both through. It is a -1 to AP. That's going to be a 6+. Both have been failed, but we get that Feel No Pain 5+ from the Pain Boy. And both have been failed, and that is 4 more Beast Snagga boys who have been killed by the Superior. I'm just going to take them off one side of the wall. Got to keep doing this or I'm going to forget who's alive and who's not at the end of the turn. So now we move on to the multi-meltas, and that ability to re-roll here is going to be massive for these because you only get 2 shots per. There is the Melta 2 if they're within 9 inches. I don't think it's 9 inches. I think it's more like 12 or 13. Yeah. So the 9 inches is just hitting at the front of that wall of martyrs, and the Beast Snagga boys are well behind that, but we will still be able to shoot here, just not get any extra damage. So this is going to be hitting on a 3+. Both are through. That's fantastic. Strength 9, toughness 5, 3s to wound. I can reroll this because of Morven Val. Got it. So that's how you pick up those extra attacks. -4 to AP. The Beast Snagga boys do not have an invulnerable save, so this is going to break down to their Feel No Pain. So 2 of them are through, and it is going to be a 5+ here to save the damage coming through. And that is not good for the Beast Snagga boys. They failed both. It is D6 damage per attack. So let's see how much we got here. 2 and 4 more wounds through. So that's going to be 4 more Beast Snagga boys that have been removed here. And that's just like the heavy... If you guys play Space Marine 2 and you've used the multi-melta, you know what that looks like. So like a group of, termagants are coming at you, the small little skittering Tyrannid, and it just like blaps all over them and it kills multiple models at once. That's the exact same effect here. If you guys kind of want a visual, if you haven't played Space Marine 2, I'd recommend picking it up and seeing how that goes because it's a fucking awesome game. So here we go. Multi-Melta 2 again, hitting on a 3+. This is the second one. Thank God I can re-roll because both of those failed. Picked up both. Amazing. Strength 9, toughness 5, 3s to wound. I can re-roll this guy. And just like that, I've picked up 2 more attacks. It is that -4 to AP, so we are going to see if we can get the 5+ Feel No Pain. 1 was able to save, so the damage is not coming through there. However, this is damaging, and it is D6 again, and it is just 1 this time. So the Beast Snagga boys have lost a lot of models to the Paragon Warsuits and Morven Val. They have 2, 4, 6, 7 models left, including their Knob and the Pain Boy. So that objective is still theirs, but they have lost more than half of their unit. That is it for the Sisters of Battle turn number 3. We have 2 turns left for the Sisters, so they got to really start moving and take objectives. and this one is back over to the Orks, and we are going to see what they do. I'll do a quick sum up there, show you guys what the table looks like after all the shoots, and we'll get over to the Orks after that. All right, so we'll start over here. The Sororitas Rhino, again, at the very beginning of that shoot, only killed one model, so there's still a ton there, and they're going to be blasting away at this. The nice thing is the Retributors have been opened up, so they might be able to lend it some fire support, and some of those weapons are definitely in range. That's going to be, of course, when it comes back to the Adepta Sororitas. The Battle Sisters here fire down. Didn't have a great round. The Castigator as well could have done a lot more damage. Didn't do great against the truck. The boys here, though, have lost 4 models, so they only have 6 remaining, including that knob there with 2 wounds. Over here was crazy for the Orks, so they lost more than half of their section. They have the Pain Boy left there, so they still have that Feel No Pain 5+. They do have the knob there as well with 2 wounds. And that was Morven Val and her Paragon Warsuits. They are still fighting on. One of the Warsuits there got clipped at the beginning, has 1 wound left, but they're still fighting through. And the range, I don't think they're in range to get into hand-to-hand combat, so those Beast Naga boys are going to move up as far as they can and try to snap some shots off with their sluggas, but I don't know how that's going to do. The Sisters Repentia are still in here. They've been nice and secure there all game. There's actually a cool thing with the Sisters of Battle too. Like, you can progress units through. I don't know if I selected that as my like my force I don't know, selection at the start, but there's a way, kind of like with the Astra Militarum, you can move them through the rank structure. In this case, the Sisters Repentia can actually move back through the ranks and become Sisters of Battle again after they've been, I don't know, holified or something. There's our Castigator again. So it is back over to the Orks here. We're going to see how this goes for them. It's their move, their shoot, and then any hand-to-hand that is possible. There seems to be a lot more Sisters of Battle models now, and I think this battle is going to the Sisters right now, but there's still several Orks. I still have the ability to do the jump as well if I want to get these guys in there, and I might actually do that because 5 points here. Don't want to lose that with the truck, so I might want to hold on to that, but we'll see. I'll think off camera, do some strategy, and then come back and show you guys what I've decided. Orc movement turn 3 is done. I did not do the jump here. I had the boys and the Weird Boy and the Knob go in against the Sororitas Rhino. I think that's going to be enough attacks to possibly fell the Rhino. So it was a good move by them. If not, it will be able to hopefully get back and maybe give some support here to the objective control position, because the Retributors are in range of the Burna Boys, and the Burna Boys are perfect infantry killers. They have flamers and they hit automatically, so just an Orc's dream. If you guys do play Orcs, a really well-known strategy is to load a bunch of burners up into a truck, get them protected, get them in close 12 inches, and then just gout whoever you're fighting with flame. The power armor is going to hopefully help out the Sisters a little bit against Imperial Guard. It's absolutely devastating, but they do have the power armor, so that might save them. Over here, we have the Beast Naga boys trying to kind of lure Morven Val in with that Pain Boy. I think Morven Val is a little too smart. She knows that they're not very good at range. She might not take the bait there, because if they do not kill them in hand-to-hand, the Beast Naga boys have a very good chance of killing probably 1 or maybe even 2 of those Paragon Warsuits before going down. And then last but not least, over here, we have the range Orc boys here, the Shuda boys, versus the Castigator and the truck that does have the big Shuda on it. They're going to try to get some wounds off this thing as well, and it actually didn't fare too great at the beginning of the game. It took a couple of tank busta shots, and there's actually some rocket launches within that unit and another big Shuda, so it's very possible this Castigator could take a couple more wounds. And with this movement and seeing what's left here, this battle is still far from over. There's a lot of objectives that are still held by the Orcs, and they actually still have the lead. So we're going to do a tally of all the points there at the end of turn 3 after this move, the shoot. No hand-to-hand yet, but I'm going to be rolling a lot of this off camera. I'll come back and show you guys what the Orcs have been able to do to the Adepta Sororitas and what kind of point values they hold at the end of that. Ooh, it's getting spicy here, so I wanted to turn the camera back on. It is still the Orcs shoot in turn 3. The Burna Boys just fired upon the Retributor squad, and it was actually the Spanner alone with his custom Mega Blasta that killed the entire unit. Got some very good rolls. So I'm going to do the Miracle Dice roll now because that Retributor squad has been killed. I got a 6. The lone model up there right now is the Canoness facing off against the Burna Boys, and she is just about to take the attack from 4 Burnas. So we're going to roll those now. The custom Mega Blaster is also hazardous, so if I had rolled a 1, the Burna Boys as well as the Spanner may have been wounded, but I rolled a 2, so they're okay. Now we're going to roll one at a time here. This is the Burnas, so this is the exact same as a Flamer for the Sisters of Battle or Imperial Guard or for the Space Marines. So it is D6 to see how many attacks we're getting first. 4, 5, 5, and 4. Ouch. That's 18 attacks. I do not have enough blue dice. So what I'm going to do, actually, I know that I have 20 red dice. I'm going to switch this out. This is going to be for the Orks now. So I'm using red dice for this one. It is a strength 4 versus a toughness 3. This is going to be 3s to wound. And you say, why didn't you get these guys out earlier? Well, they were being used as a defensive structure. So if anyone had come close to this objective, they would have been gouted with flame. All of these have hit. This is not good for our Canoness. She does have a 4+ invulnerable, but this is some insane saves that she's going to have to make. I do have that 1 6 I just rolled for the Retributors, but I don't think I'm going to be wasting it here because I don't, unless she gets some crazy ass rolls, but we're looking for 4s here for the Canoness. She saved a few, so we have a 6, a 5, a 4, a 6. All of these are through, however. The Canoness, as far as I remember, does not have any kind of feel no pain. So the Canoness Vehin, who is now the 2IC second command of this force, has been killed. The Burna Boys were just in range. The 12 inches was literally at the base of the Canoness, so that counts in these rules. And the flame licked her just enough to finish her off. So I'm going to be removing Canoness Vehin now. She has 4 wounds, but that was definitely way more than enough to finish her off. And she is going to be getting another battle scar. A lot of my units, again, have received battle scars here. And I kind of do some gimmies there. So there's like the crippling damage, which is the -1 to move. That does hurt if you're doing specific battles later on. There's actually one coming up where that could affect it. And then I believe this is the only objective control battle I have. So I'm probably going to be giving them fatigued, most of the units here. I'll do a synopsis at the end of what kind of battle scars I have given. But after that, if I have to continue to give battle scars and there's another, 4 or 5 missions after this one, this Battle Sister force is going to be super beat up. So we're going to get back here. There's going to be the hand-to-hand against the Sororitas Rhino. I forgot to mention that. And then I'll do a sum up here. The Ork truck, as well as the boys, were able to strip a wound off the Castigator, so it is down to 6 wounds from its 7 that it had previous. And the Pain Boy, as well as the Beast Naga boys, were not able to do any damage. That ballistic skill is just way too high for them to do anything ranged. But in hand-to-hand, they are super good. And we're going to see what they do here off camera against this Rhino. They might turn it into a tin can. So I'm going to roll that off camera, come right back and show you guys what's happened and sum up the rest of that turn. Because after this, it is the end of turn 3 for the Orks, and we move into turn 4 for the Adepta Sororitas. Okay, so we're still in the melee combat here of the Ork boys and Weird Boy versus the Sororitas Rhino. I wanted to get the camera rolling here. The Knob with the Power Claw was able to take 2 wounds off of the Rhino. The remaining boys all attacked with their choppas. It was 33 attacks, but the Rhino was able to get away unscathed. So a lot of hits came through. It is a lower strength, though, versus a toughness of 9, so they needed 6 to actually wound, and no 6s were rolled. So all of those boys were not able to wound. It is now over to the Weird Boy, however, who does have quite a good hand-to-hand weapon in the Weird Boy staff, and it is hitting on a 3+. So 1 more has fallen off. These 2 are through. Strength 8 versus toughness 9, so still going to need 5s here. And there's a 4 and a 1. So once again, the Rhino has gotten away unscathed from the attacks. Well, it did take some wounds there from the Power Claw. The Rhino now is going to be able to attack back with its armored tracks. So even though it is a vehicle, you can tell, the driver's like, holy shit, I don't want to get hacked apart. So he's driving forward a bit and crushing some orcs with those armored tracks. So this is a 4+ to hit. 3 attacks. So we have 2. I do have that 6 miracle dice, but I'm going to save that because that's a really good roll and I might need it later on. It is a 0 to 8 P, but this is strength 6 versus toughness 5, so 3s to wound. Both are through. Again, 0 AP, so it is going to be the Weird Boy's regular 5+ save. Just seeing if he has anything here. So he has taken 2 damage, and our Weird Boy goes from 4 to 2. I could actually allocate that to the Orcs. So that's what I'm going to do because they're a unit right now. So 2 Orcs have been killed with those tracks. It's not directed right towards the Weird Boy, even though he was the last one to attack. The whole group did. And actually, when I show you guys on camera here in a sec, the Weird Boy's at the back. So instead of taking 2 wounds off the Weird Boy, that is 2 Orc boys that have been killed. Which is going to lessen their attacks in the future, which is not a bad thing. So we're going to, you know what, I'll do it live right now. Take this off the tripod. So here it is. This was just happening in front of the dice rolling tray. The Sororitas Rhino went from 10 wounds down to 8. It is going to be able to move though. It does have the -1, but it's going to be able to get back 11 inches. Maybe pull in here and hold this objective because the Burnas might not do as well against a tank. There they are, though. Those Burna boys are super good models. I don't know in the new 10th edition Orc Codex or unit and war gear options how many of these guys you can bring in, but I would say bring in a bunch of them, load them in a truck, have them hop out. If you're fighting Gene Stealer cultists, Imperial Guard, Battle Sisters, Space Marines, they just get so many attacks in. It's like the Pyre Blasters for the Space Marines, same kind of deal. So this is where Canoness Vaheen and those Retributors were. They were burnt to a crisp. They are gone. The Battle Sisters over here still hold this objective, though. There's 9 of them left. These Orcs down here tried to fire in at the Castigator. Were not able to really do much other than the big shooter from the truck. So the Castigator is down to 6 wounds. Over here, that ballistic skill, not great. The Beast Naga boys tried to fire in and wound Morgan Val in those Paragon warsuits. Nothing happened. So that battle continues, and it's going back over to these Adepta Sororitas very soon. And just over here from the flip side, there's the Castigator. 6 wounds, so it still has all its capabilities. No -1 to hit or anything yet. That'll come in when it gets to 1 to 4 wounds. So this turn, I'm going to try to wipe out everything that's here with the help possibly of the Battle Sisters over there. We'll see what happens. And while we're also on camera, since that is the end of turn 3 and it is the beginning of turn 4, I get another Miracle Dice roll. So here we go. And it's another 6. I couldn't ask for anything better right now. That ability from Morven Valvo to be able to kind of discard a Miracle Dice, even though it's low, is fantastic. But I will take the 6, and it might make all the difference. I currently have this 6 and 1 other 6 in my Miracle Dice pool. So I'm going to move those Adepta Sororitas. We're going to come back and I'll show you guys what they've done and kind of the strategy I have lined up for them. So time to sum up turn 4. This is the second last turn of this battle for the Adepta Sororitas. The first one was the Sororitas Rhino moved in here underneath the landing pad. It's got that Stormbolter ready to put some rounds down on these Burna boys. Up here, the Battle Sisters did a 180. I wanted to keep them out of range. Those flamers are still hitting right about here from the Burna boys, or I should call them Burnas. That does, however, mean that this flamer is out of range, but all of these bolt weapons and combi bolters and heavy bolters should be in range to put all of that firepower down on the Burna boys, plus that Storm Bolter. Over here, wanted to play it safe with Morven Val and the Paragon Warsuits. I could have moved them back, but I want to get any bonuses there for the Melta 2, as well as the Heavy Bolter, anything else there that I can get. And I might discard another dice there. We'll see to get 3 more attacks. I'm not sure it's going to be necessary, but we'll see what happens. And Morven Val and those Paragon Warsuits are going to light up these Beast Naga boys. Last but not least, over here, the Castigator stayed right in the same spot, same kind of strategy. I think I'm going to start off with the heavy bolter arrays on this thing. So there's the hull mounted on the front, the 2 sponson mounted. They're going to fire into those Ork boys. And then there is the truck there that I'm really hoping will go down to the Castigator battle cannon this time if I can get some good rolls. So I'm going to move over to the tray. I'm going to start these shoots. I think I might get a few of them on camera because it's starting to get kind of spicy and heated up here. I think I'll take the burner boys off camera, but I might roll for the Castigator on camera and definitely for more of a Val on those Paragon Warsuits to see what happens. And then I'll come back. Quick sum up here too. The points have not changed. So this is still an Ork objective. This is an Ork objective. This is an Adepta Sororitas objective. This is still an Ork objective. This is still an Ork objective. This is an Adepta Sororitas objective. And the score for that right now is still 13 for the Orks. So they're leading going into turn 4. The Adepta Sororitas are going to have to bust their ass here. So yeah, Orks have 13, and the Adepta Sororitas have 7 in total. So we're going to get this one going, and hoping for some big rolls here to hopefully get a victory for these Adepta Sororitas. And the battle ends no matter what on turn 5, and we're going to add up the points and see who has the most. So this is a super pivotal shoot turn for these Adepta Sororitas. Oh my gosh, the luck continues. I just had a terrible shoot phase for the Battle Sisters. Not the worst, I guess. I had to use the Stormbolter on the Sororitas Rhino, as well as the entire Battle Sister squad that was within range on the Burner Boys, and 2 of the Burner Boys remain, which means that the objective point there is still theirs. So if I lose the Rhino during this turn, I don't have something that has the speed to get in there and hold that position. So not good. And this again, like, it's not a battle of if one force defeats the other entirely. It is whoever has the most objective control points at the end. So these Orks have some staying power. That toughness 5 is no joke. And those bolt guns just, with that 4 strength against toughness 5, it's tough. Heavy bolter didn't roll well there either. And then the luck continued to falter when I had the Castigator tank versus the Ork boys and the truck. I wanted to use the Castigator battle cannon against the truck, but the heavy bolter arrays did not finish off the Ork boys, so I had to use the Castigator battle cannon, which had a fucking terrible roll. I only got 4 attacks from it, where there's a possibility of 9 to finish off the Knob and the 2. So the truck is still in there. The truck still has a lot of wounds, so I'm going to have to move that tank in next turn to try to see who's got more objective control points to hold that position. I'm really hoping the luck changes here. It is now Morven Val. I wanted to get this on the camera. So Fidelis, I'm not using the special ability. I do not want to get rid of my last 6. So I had to use one of my 6s as well from my Miracle Dice pool for the Battle Sisters, and it helped them get the hit, but it did not help them wound. So I don't want to say it went to waste, but it kind of did. Okay, so now that that's all summed up, we are going to get to the shoot now for Morven Val and the Paragon Warsuits. I'm not going to use the ability here to discard a dice to be able to get 3 additional attacks for Fidelis. I'm going to save that 6 for later. So this is going to be 3 attacks hitting on a 2+. This is against the Beast Snagga boys, by the way, just so you know who I'm shooting at. So all of those are through. It is a strength 6 versus toughness 5, 3s to wound. All of those are through. It is a -1 to AP. So that is going to be 6+ saves for the Beast Snagga boys. They do have that Feel No Pain 5+ from the Pain boys. So we're going to reroll these again and see if they get any 5s. They did not. So that is 2, 4, 6 as per the Fidelis profile. That might be enough actually to take care of the Beast Snagga boys. So we got 2, 4, 5, 6 with the Knob. They have been removed. The Pain boy is all that remains there. And I do not believe that the Pain boy gets the Feel No Pain. I'm going to move over to his profile here just to see. I think it's only the unit that he's with, but I'm going to double check. So yeah, Doc's tools, while this unit or while this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Feel No Pain 5+. So he does not have a 5+. This is moving over to the Paragon Warsuits now to see what they can do. And with more of Involve's ability there, they can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls. So this Pain Boy is going to have to make some pretty good saves, and actually he does not have an invulnerable, which is quite surprising. So he gives a Feel No Pain to other units, but he does not have one himself. So we are going to start up here with the Heavy Bolter for the Paragon Superior. He's hitting on a 3+. So one fell off. I'm not going to use that dice yet. Strength 5, Toughness 5, Force to Wound. Both of those are through. It is a -1 to AP. That brings our Pain Boy up to a 6+ save. And no invulnerable save there, so he has died. It is 2 4 wounds coming from the Heavy Bolter. The Pain Boy has 3 wounds. Hold on. Does he have 5 wounds? Nope, he's got 3 wounds. I don't know. The token must have fallen over there. So the Pain Boy has been killed. The objective is not held yet by the Sisters of Battle because there's no model on there. I am going to remove the green token, so that is kind of up for grabs, that 3 points. Definitely needed that, though. If they had not done what they did now, I don't know if the Sororitas, Adepta Sororitas had a chance. So that is it for the Adepta Sororitas turn 4. There's only 1 turn remaining. It is moving back over to the Orks here, and we're going to see what they do. Just move the Orks there for their turn 4, second last. It's looking pretty grim for them. The Ork boys left the Weird Boy behind to advance. However, the angle here to be able to shoot up, they don't have line of sight. So they're not going to be able to put any rounds down on those Battle Sisters this turn. The Burner Boys stayed here. They're going to try to gout that Rhino before it gets in during the Adepta Sororitas next turn and then contend that objective point. The Battle Sisters here can also fire down. They're outside of range of those flamers, so it's possible that during this next turn that might happen. Over here, Morven Val and the Paragon Warsuits have taken out this entire Beastnaga Boys mob. However, the objective is still open, so those 3 points are not held by anybody currently, but it looks like if they're in range, all they have to do is get into that Wall of Martyrs area, and that objective becomes theirs. Over here, the truck is going to try to hold its ground and fire at the Castigator, and that's also going to come down to a contention in regards to that spot. But the big shooter will be chugging away at that Castigator to try to take some wounds, and the Castigator is down to 5 wounds. So it's, or 6 wounds. It's not taking that penalty yet, but I don't know if the shooter gets super lucky, it might be able to take a few more wounds off. It's not going to really matter, but we'll see how that goes. And now we're going to do the shoots for anything that's in range. So the Burnas and the truck, and that is about it. So I will do that off camera, come back, show you guys what kind of wounds have possibly occurred. And then from there, we are going to move it back to the Adepta Sororitas to possibly finish this battle. But the Orks will get 1 more turn after that. And it'll matter really if their objective control points make sense for them at that point in the game to be able to fight, or if we call it a day. All right, so I gotta kind of do a synopsis on what just happened there. So we had the Spanner, which is the leader of the Burna Boys, fire the custom Mega Blaster into the Sororitas Rhino. It actually removed 3 wounds, or no, 5 wounds. I forget, but there's only 3 wounds remaining on the Adepta Sororitas Rhino. And then the hazardous weapon blew up and actually killed the Spanner, which is very orky. There is 1 Burna Boy left. It tried to use the Burna against the Rhino. Nothing happened. The crazy thing here is it is a -1 right now because of that crippling damage from the last game. Also, there's going to possibly be a penalty to movement. I think it's with just the hit roll. I might be thinking 30k, but I'll have to check that out, which means that this Rhino might not have the distance now to be able to get into this area to contest that ground. Absolutely crazy. And actually, I was looking here too, the Ork boys still get the fire as well. So with the Rhino having 3 wounds remaining, the Orks have that really shitty ballistic skill, but it's very possible that they could plink it off and destroy that Rhino, which would mean that this will remain Ork territory. because those Sisters of Battle do not have the range to get in there. I could maybe move them ahead, clip this orc in the head, hope that it would die, and then this would become uncontested ground, but there might not be enough points from that at the end. So we're going to have to see what happens. I'm going to keep the shoots going though, so I still have the orc boys to shoot here at the rhino, and I have the truck with the big shooter fighting at the castigator, and the castigator is also a bit swifter there. It's lost a lot of wounds. So we'll see how this goes. Again, you always think the battle is close to being done, and it might not be. These orcs are fucking nuts, so anything can happen. So I'm going to move over back to the dice tray, get these orc boys shooting, and see what happens. This continues to get crazy. The orcs are still going here. So that group of orc boys that used to be with the weird boy fired at the rhino. They got a lucky roll there, and one wound actually made it through and damaged the rhino. So it is down to 2 wounds now. I was also checking the range here, and the weird boy has the Ed Banger, which is its ranged attack. And we're going to see what happens here. This might be another attack that's going to fall off of the rhino here. So I'm going to roll this one on camera. It's hitting on a 4+. And it was a 1. Thank goodness that rhino is like, holy shit, that's great, because wow. It looks like here the rhino continues to move, so it doesn't have that penalty to it. So it's going to continue to move, and it does have an 11-inch move right now with that crippling damage. I'm going to keep firing here with the orcs. Might as well do it while we're on camera. This is the last unit that they have on the other side of the field, which is the orc truck. It's got the big shooter, 36 inches, but if there's anything within 18, it gets a rapid fire 2, so 2 additional dice. So that is going to be 5 in total, hitting on a 5+. And sadly, the orc truck has not hit anything with that. They were a little too excited, wanted to hear it really make some pow pow noises or pew pew noises. So this is back over to the Adepta Sororitas. I'll do a little synopsis there of the field, because that is the end of turn 4. Count up the points, because there's some uncontested ground and some ground that is definitely still held by the orcs, and I'll get the totals there to you in just a second as we move into the 5th and final turn with the Adepta Sororitas. Okay, so I just totaled up everything there. We'll get a shot of the field there in just a sec to show you guys who's left and in what areas and what's open and all that good stuff. So at the end of turn 4, we have the Adepta Sororitas at 7 points, the Orcs at 10 points, so they still have the lead, and then there is the Promethium canister fuel area that is up for grabs right now that will be 3 points. But as this is the beginning of turn 5, I get to roll another miracle dice. I already have one in my pool that's 6, and I've saved it for this reason, to make sure that I've got some really good dice here at the end. So it is a 3, not amazing, but I'll take it. Might be able to discard that for something. And while we're live, I'll just pull the camera off again here, and we'll cover the grounds. So the Ministorum / apartment building complex is being held right now by the Weird Boys. So that is 3 points to the Orcs. These are the Orc boys that came out, got a lucky shot against the Adepta Sororitas Rhino. There's still a lone Burner boy in here holding a 2-point structure. That is probably going to be contended this turn if the Rhino is able to get in there. And then the Sisters of Battle up here are probably going to try to shoot down and take him out. So that becomes, for sure, Adepta Sororitas territory. The truck here is probably going to have the Castigator come up on it. Castigator is probably going to keep its distance, doesn't want to get too close in case this thing has a deadly demise if it gets exploded, but all that firepower will be going on that now. Over here, the Promethium canisters currently have no one holding that position, but we will see if Morven Vol and the Paragon Warsuits are close enough to hold that as the Adepta Sororitas area. And then from the very beginning of the battle, this little village area here has been held by the Sister Repentia, so that is 2 points. That is still Astra, or keep wanting to say Astra Militarum as soon as I see the disc, but that is still Adepta Sororitas. So I'm going to get the move done here, come right back super soon, show you guys the table and where everything is. I'm also going to have to count up some OC points here, so objective control points for each unit, and see who holds what at the beginning of this turn 5. And then the shoots will happen in any hand-to-hand combat. It will go back to the Orcs if that is necessary, to see if they can take any ground back during their last 5th and final turn. So I am going to put the camera back on the tripod, move the units that I want to move, do the objective control points, come back and show you guys what is being held after that and by what army. And just like that, the Adepta Sororitas movement is done, and every single objective has actually gone to them, except for the Ministorum / apartment complex held by the Weird Boy. So the Rhino moved in here. It has a -1 to move, but not a -1 to OC. It has 2 OC objective control points versus the Burner Boys 1. So this goes Adepta Sororitas. This is the area here that is still held by the Orks. So that is 3 points. The landing pad, which has been Adepta Sororitas the whole time, still remains theirs. Morvenval was just able to get inside the Wall of Martyrs, which means that the Prometheum area is also Adepta Sororitas now. The Paragon Warsuits, actually with that crippling damage, only could move 7 inches, which would not put them inside the Wall of Martyrs. So I had them actually come around the corner. They're going to put some fire on this truck this turn. But even with that truck in there, the Castigator has more objective control points. So this is actually also gone Adepta Sororitas. And then again, the spot that has been there since the beginning, we have the 2 points for the busted up town here that has been held by the Sister Repentia the whole time. I am going to keep going here. I want to see if we can get some more unit kills for my units. And then if the Orks are able to fight back, there might be a couple more battle scars. So it's going to be important, but I have the Castigator and the Paragon Warsuits firing in at the truck. Morvenval is actually also in range there with Fidelis, so she's going to be putting some rounds on that truck as well, hoping to destroy it. They should be far enough away, too, that it's not going to affect them if that thing has a deadly demise. The Battle Sisters over here may shoot at the Orc Boys. That's a lot to kill, though, so we'll see. They might actually instead fire upon the Burner Boy, but I think I'm going to get the Rhino to fire on him first to see if I can kill him there, and then put the rest of the Adepta Sororitas fire down on the Orc Boys if they're in line of sight. So I'm going to look around here, see what's best for the Adepta Sororitas to get some extra experience and kill points, and we'll see how it goes. I'll roll it all off camera, come back and show you guys what is left of the Orcs. So that sums up the final turn for the Adepta Sororitas, turn 5. And this side of the table is completely theirs. I've given my mark for greatness to the Castigator tank. Started off a little slow there with those heavy bolters, but it definitely pulled its weight and it just killed that truck. So that's going to be 3 experience points to it, plus it's 1 from the battle. And I have to see if that's going to be enough to give it a battle honor. Morvenval and the Paragon Warsuits were not needed as the Castigator was able to do it. Over here, the Sororitas Rhino was able to kill the final Burner Boy, which allowed my Battle Sister squad for everyone in range of line of sight to fire down at the Orc Boys, and they killed a few more. Didn't finish off the entire unit, and this unit will survive with the Weird Boys, so we cannot get any kill points for that. The Flamer here was out of range, but maybe if it was a little bit closer, I might have been able to do more damage. It is going to go back over to the Orcs here, so the Orc Boys and the Weird Boy do have their ranged attacks, and the Sisters of Battle are in line of sight, so I have to see if they're in range. So those Sluggas are 12 inches, and the Weird Boy psychic attack is 24. So it's very possible that this unit could go down here, which would be a battle scar. But it looks like the Adepta Sororitas have won this one, even if the squad goes down. But I am going to shoot that off camera, come back and show you guys what the last little push there by the Orcs was able to do, and if they're able to kill any more of the Adepta Sororitas before the end of this battle. And that is it for battle number 2 for the Adepta Sororitas Crusade narrative. The Orc Boys and the Weird Boy all did their range attacks. They were not able to hit with any of them, which is kind of, you know, just the Orky way with that ballistic skill they couldn't hit. So the Battle Sister squad remains here. The final score is 17-3 for the Adepta Sororitas. It was with the Orcs there for a little while. They could have taken this one, it looked like, for a while. They had a lot more models, but without cover, they kind of got picked away in time. There was a lot of battle scars, however, delivered to my Adepta Sororitas. I'm going to have to get all that going, and I think I'm going to do that live on camera here so I don't have to do a synopsis next battle. Next battle is also going to be super cool, so I'm just going to set my tripod up here. maybe with a bit of a cityscape shot for the remaining winning force, and kind of read through what's happened here with the battle scars, what experience points everybody is at. If there's any battle honors that are going to be given, I will include that in the next battle. I usually have little tokens to indicate that for my vehicles and my infantry models. So yeah, I'll get to those sheets in just a sec. I'll read them off camera, and then I'll set this up on a tripod so you guys can at least see, the battlescape as I read that. So it's a little bit of, visual candy while I read. There we go. So a bit of an aerial shot there of the remaining orcs and the winning Adepta Sororitas while I read this here. So the next battle is going to be against the Tyrannid. It's going to be kind of Starship Troopers based. So I usually do this with my orcs, actually. I do the Last Stand at Glazier's Creek. I actually just did that around winter last year, 2024. So it's not going to be a little while until I do that again. I try to run it annually. But this is going to be a comms array out in the middle of either a desert or some kind of, I don't know, earthscape. And there is a communications tower that has been damaged, and it's going to be 5 turns again, and there's going to be wave after wave of Tyrannid. So by the end of it, it might be 3,500 points against this Adepta Sororitas army. And we'll see how that goes. I'll get more into that when we get to that battle, but it should be an absolutely amazing one. So just to sum up here, I want to go through all of the battle scars, as well as the battle tally, the requisition points, all that good stuff. I don't know if I'm going to use the requisition points yet, but I'll let you guys at least know what we have. So this was a 1,395 point Adepta Sororitas army based off of my 1,400 supply limit. So I have a whopping 5 points to play around with. The battle tally now is 2 battles, and the Adepta Sororitas are 1-1. So I lost that first one against the Emperor's Children and Slanesh. My requisition points were at 1. That now goes to 2. So I can use those to either remove battle scars or add more supply points. I may use 1 requisition point to remove a battle scar, and then use the other to up my supply limit by another 200 points to possibly get another tank in here. I'm thinking maybe an immolator. Especially since I'm going to be facing a bunch of skittering termagants and hormagaunts, and 2 massive flamers attached to a holy tank is very Sisters of Battle for that type of thing. So we're going to get to the battle scars now. So Canoness Vaheen was lost again during this fight, so she now has -1 to move and -1 to OC, which is her objective control through fatigued. So that is not good, especially if this was the battle that was coming up next. The Imagifier also got a battle scar, and I'm going to make a -1 to OC for that as well. Kind of a throwaway because I want them to have the movement, and now that this OC battle is behind us, I don't think I've got another one planned, but that might change. I might be adding in a different battle at the very end here, so that might change for sure. The Hospitaller received 1 as well, and they now have a -1 to move. So they had 1 initially, but I used a requisition point to remove it. We'll see if I use that again, but I am not sure. So that was the same with the Celestine Sacrosanct. They had a battle scar. It was removed with the requisition point. They were lost in this battle as well, so they also have a -1 to move. The Paragon Warsuits survived this fight. So they have the same battle scar of the -1 inch to move, but nothing additional to that. The Retributor squad has been lost in both battles, so they have a -1 to their movement, and then also a -1 to OC. That is going to start to add up. If I have to put a 3rd battle scar on them in this upcoming fight, not good. The Battle Sister Squad Alpha, which has the Heavy Flamer, was also killed during this fight, so they had a -1 to OC that I've given them. The Battle Sister Squad Beta, which has the Heavy Bolter, they are still alive. They are on top of the landing platform, but they do have a battle scar that carried through from the previous battle of a -1 to their move. Sororitas Rhino was lost in the first fight. It survived this one just barely, and it still has that -1 to move. The Castigator had its battle scar removed with a requisition point after the first fight, and it survived this. It also got my marked for greatness, so it is up to 5 experience points. I believe 6 is when they get their first battle honor, and I'm going to have to see what kind of things I can give to vehicle units for the Adepta Sororitas. That's not going to happen yet, but next battle it will be getting an experience point, and mattering how it does, maybe another mark for greatness. We'll have to see. And then we did have the Penitent Engine. It was lost, so that's going to be a -1 to OC. The Mortifier was also lost, -1 to OC. The Repentia Squad, very easy game for them. They just held off in that city, little town area for the whole fight. They're fine. And then Morvenval in her first battle too did absolutely phenomenal. She is a character model though, so I couldn't give her the mark for greatness, but she definitely deserved it leading those Paragon War Suits, and her ability to buff them out is going to be insane against the Tyrannid, because there's going to be some really big models in there. Screamer Killers, Carnifexes, there's going to be Tyrannid Warriors, Tyrannid Prime. So we'll get to that after. It's going to be an absolutely incredible battle with 5 waves of Tyrannid coming in. I hate to like put the odds at almost impossible, but I'm going to build the field up to give the Battle Sisters a chance. They're going to be defending a central position with a lot of different walls to get behind, hopefully some cover to help out with their save, and not much movement's going to have to happen because they're going to be defending a base, and then also there's no objective control. So a lot of these battle scars this time are not going to affect them, but if those continue, like I said, and they continue to add up, it's not going to be good. So that is it for this one. The Battle Sisters Adepta Sororitas victory. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved playing as the Orks. They're so much fun to play as. And it was looking like it was going to be their battle for a while. But of course, you know, the Adepta Sororitas pulled it off there. I had some pretty good strategy. They have a much better ballistic skill. If the Orks had gotten into hand-to-hand combat more, however, and had better cover to move units in, like the Ork Boys, Burna Boys, stuff like that, it might have been a different story. But the points just weren't there to bring in battle wagons and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So phenomenal battle, though. Adepta Sororitas win. They are now 1-1. Next fight is going to be against the Tyrannid, and we'll get to that one as soon as we can. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe. Finnigan 40K, Crusade Narrative, Adepta Sororitas. We'll see you guys soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye for now.